Okay, well, good evening, folks, and welcome inside the Macon Centreplex as the Macon Mayhem get set to host the Fayetteville Marksmen for the first time since the home opener. Saturday, December the 7th, the Mayhem coming into this tilt 9th in the SPHL and coming off the back of their worst loss in franchise history. A night to forget yesterday in Evansville at the hands of the much-improved Thunderbolts. The Mayhem dropping that game by a score of 10-3. Which broke several records, not the kinds of records that you want to break if you're the Mayhem. Most goals allowed in a single game, that shattered the previous record of 8. Largest margin of defeat, also shattering a previous record of 5. Last night's margin of defeat was 7. And most goals, combined goals in a single game, shattering the previous record of 12. Last night there were 13. So lots of records were broken last night. None of them were positive for the Mayhem. They're just trying to turn the page after what happened yesterday and move forward. I spoke with several of the Mayhem players on the way back from Evansville last night via text, and they told me that despite the loss, they are confident going forward. It was certainly an anomaly and one that they will just look to have a short memory, as you must have as a professional athlete of any kind, especially in the sport of hockey when there are games in minor league hockey. As a matter of fact, just back-to-back like this. This game presents the Mayhem with a perfect opportunity to get back on the right track and just forget about what happened last night. Yesterday's 10-3 defeat in Evansville at the hands of the much-improved Thunderbolts marked the largest margin of defeat the Mayhem have suffered in franchise history. Perhaps the greatest anomaly of this game was the shots on goal. One might be confused by the result after checking the box score, seeing as how the Mayhem outshot the opposition by a substantial margin, 49-28. They outshot Evansville by 21 shots on goal. They forced Braden Ostapchuk to make a number of respectable saves, but both Macon goaltenders were left to deal with some unmarked Thunderbolt and dangerous scoring areas all over the ice throughout the evening. And you've got to give credit to Evansville. Their forwards did a remarkable job of capitalizing on Macon miscues, and really seldom did they miss on their scoring opportunities. Evansville's 10 goals all came off the sticks of forwards, so they really just made the Mayhem pay for every single mistake. As was exemplified yesterday, folks, shots on goal have not been Macon's issue this season. In terms of shots per game, the Mayhem actually pretty solid. They're fourth most in the SPHL, 33.9 shots on goal. They average more than they allow on average in 32.1, which is good for 6th in the SPHL. So shots on goal have not been the issue. The bigger issue, at least in my opinion, has been the difference in quality of chances that they have created versus quality of chances that they've allowed. On a more uplifting note, however, the Mayhem had a very strong finish to yesterday's game. They outplayed the Thunderbolts in the third period, scoring twice on the man advantage, which has certainly looked improved since Ryan Michael has taken over as the head coach. The Mayhem power play slowly creeping its way back into the double digits territory, but still ranking 9th in the SPHL. The penalty kill also at 9th at a 78.1% success rate. The Fayetteville Marksmen, in the meantime, are in town. They got off to a red-hot start this season and arrived in Macon a few hours ago. For a while there, they dueled the Peoria Rivermen for the top record in the league. They have now slipped to third place, but still a very dangerous team. They edged the Mayhem in overtime back on the home opener on October the 18th, which then preceded an 8-0-1 record throughout Fayetteville's first 9 games of the season. The Marksmen, like we said, have regressed back towards the mean and come back down to earth slightly, having split both of their last 2 weekends, but still, Jesse Kalecki's squad remains one of the most dangerous in the SPHL. A blockbuster trade involved this team on Monday, which sent Tucker Ross to the Quad City Storm and John Shibo to the Huntsville Havoc in exchange for Brett Johnson and Josh Victor to the Marksmen. So tonight will be the first game in which those two suit up in this uniform. The Marksmen had last night off, as did 60% of the SPHL. The Marksmen will have a Sunday clash tomorrow afternoon with the Roanoke Rail Yard Dogs at the Berglund Center in Roanoke, Virginia tomorrow afternoon. But substantial roster shakeups like this one almost always have some sort of immediate impact on the team that they affect. So the Mayhem will have to be prepared for another formidable squad here in Fayetteville tonight. Macon's newest addition, Alex de Oliveira, prepares to make his debut this evening. He will wear the number 3 for the Mayhem. He was expected to suit up last night in Evansville, but the flu hit him, and the symptoms that emerged from it kept him out of the contest. The whole team really has suffered from the flu bug, it seems like, and the timing was most unfortunate, as de Oliveira is known to be a pretty solid shutdown defenseman, and without his capabilities back there, the Mayhem really struggled, rolling just 5 defensemen. It's a situation that Coach Michael described as ideally never happening. Having to roll 5 defensemen, it makes things more difficult, and the lines are obviously uneven, and just all around, it's not an ideal situation. So having de Oliveira in the lineup tonight ought to at least make some difference for the Mayhem defensively, and I'm sure had they had him yesterday, things would have been at least a little bit different in terms of keeping the puck out of their own net. The Georgetown, Ontario native has been on a small roll here. He collected 3 assists in his last 3 games with the Quad City Storm before his release. He's been described by Mayhem head coach Ryan Michael as a solid defenseman who thrives in playing a simple game. So tonight he will be put to the test against an adversary which has averaged a daunting 3.62 goals per game. That's second in the SPHL, tied for second with Peoria, behind only the Knoxville Ice Bears, who have been on an absolute tear early this season. It's Teacher Appreciation Night here at the Macon Centreplex. The Mayhem will have 3 consecutive Saturday home games, including tonight, along with a pair of Friday night games throughout the month of December, I beg your pardon. Tonight, like we said, Teacher Appreciation Night. Admission is just $10 for school faculty with the presentation of a valid ID at the box office right here in Macon. It's not too late if you're thinking about coming by to the Macon Centreplex tonight. By all means, do so. We'd love to have you. If you're a teacher, an administrator, any sort of school faculty, again, just show a valid county ID at the Macon Centreplex box office right here at 200 Coliseum Drive. You will get discounted tickets for just $10 a piece. We've also got a few more surprises in store for the educators of our community here in Middle Georgia tonight. Let's take a look at the 3 keys of tonight's game. First off, minimizing turnovers. Yesterday, that was one of the biggest issues the Mayhem faced. You'll hear from Mayhem head coach Ryan Michael during the first intermission of tonight's game as he gave his thoughts on what happened last night. But he said it better than I ever could, but essentially just too many high-end scoring opportunities were given to Evansville, and it doesn't take a hockey genius to see that. For anyone who watched the game, there were just too many instances in which Kevin Atma and Cody Porter were kind of hung out to dry there. You got to feel for your goaltenders. Obviously, it was not the best of nights for either of them, but to be fair to them, they were not really put into a good position to succeed. And after a certain point, it didn't really matter who was in net. Evansville just was not going to be denied on a lot of those scoring chances, many of which were from A-plus scoring opportunities. So minimizing turnovers, turnovers, which led to a lot of Evansville goals last night. That will be key for tonight's game, of course. Number 2, winning individual battles. Too many times last night would the Thunderbolts just escape with the puck along a board battle in which 50-50 puck could have gone Macon's way. It did not, and that's a result of hard work. The Mayhem have got to work a little bit harder along the boards, the half walls, the side walls, the end walls. Really, anytime the puck is in a situation in which either team could seize control, the Mayhem have got to be a little bit hungrier on pucks than they were last night. And finally, a net front presence. Fayetteville's goaltending situation has been a little bit shaky since the call-up of Danny Taroni to the ECHL. Taroni was spectacular when he faced the Mayhem back on home opening night on October 18th. In that game, Taroni faced 41 shots on goal. He stopped 39 of them, and were it not for his efforts, the Marksmen would not have been able to complete the comeback in which they defeated the Mayhem in overtime. So, testing Blake Woitala and or Ben Halford, whoever Jesse Kalecki decides to go with in net tonight for the Marksmen, that will be key. And then one of the best ways to do that is by parking bodies in front of their crease. These have been your 3 keys of tonight's game: minimizing turnovers, winning the individual battles, and net front presence. Moving on to our Who's Hot, Who to Watch section for the Mayhem. A few players who have been hot of late. Danny Caesar had 2 primary helpers last night. He was a big part of Macon's offensive push towards the end of the game. Had some really nice passes on 2-on-1s and offensive zone situations. Danny Caesar with a 2-assist game yesterday has sort of rocketed up the Mayhem leaderboards to 9 points on the season, 7 assists, which is second only to Steven Pirog, who's in the top 3 of the SPHL in assists this season with 12. But Caesar, along with Danny Perez and Marcus Ortiz, are on the cusp of becoming the next player on the Mayhem after Pirog to hit the double-digit plateau in points this season. Fayetteville right now has 6 players in that company, 5 players in that company, including Alec Marsh, Travis Jake, Max Cook, Brian Bowen, and Taylor Mccoy. They did have Luke Stork, but he's been called up to the ECHL for a second time this season. Who else is hot? Steven Pirog. We mentioned him earlier. 6 points in his last 5 games, 3 goals, 3 assists. Again, he's third in the SPHL in assists this season. He's got 12, which by far leads the Mayhem. And in the SPHL, it trails only Ricky Kramer of Knoxville and Josh Harris of Birmingham. And finally, Jimmy Soper, 2 goals and an assist since returning on Saturday from his 3-game hiatus up in Canada. He has been wonderful since he's returned, and it's expected he will take on a significantly larger role tonight as a captain, as the absence of Stathis Soumalides, for those of you who haven't heard, he has been suspended for tonight's game. Soumalides will not be in. Soper is expected to take his role as the second alternate captain for the Mayhem, joining the leadership ranks of Steven Pirog and Caleb Cameron. Customarily, Soper would be the assistant captain on road trips, rather the alternate captain on road trips, but since Soumalides is suspended, Jimmy Soper will take over as that other alternate captain tonight. Who to watch from Fayetteville's side of things? Brian Bowen. He's always a dangerous player when he's got the puck on his stick. He's played in all 13 games for Jesse Kalecki and the Marksmen, tied for the team lead in points, tied with Max Cook. But Bowen's scoring has come from goals and assists, where Cook's, the majority of his points have come from assists. Bowen, 7 goals, as many assists, 14 points through 13 games. A very dangerous player, highly skilled, and he's always somebody the Mayhem have got to watch out for. A couple of weeks ago, he won the SPHL's Player of the Week. Secondly, Travis Jake had a 3-point game against the Mayhem back on the home opener, 2 goals and an assist, including the game-winning goal in overtime. Since that game, remarkably, Jake has not scored another goal. However, he's still near the top of the league in terms of points by a defenseman, ranking 3rd among all blue liners in scoring this season. Travis Jake, the alternate captain and Boston College product for the Fayetteville Marksmen. And finally, Max Cook, the captain, 4 assists last week in 2 games. A brilliant playmaker. He is sort of Macon's version, or Fayetteville's version of Steven Pirog. Been in the league a long time, a respected veteran, really good hands and good playmaking abilities, as demonstrated by his 11 assists this season, which leads all marksmen by a pretty good bit. The Mayhem, again, coming into this game, having completed 15 contests thus far and only won 3 of them. They sit at 3-10-2, 8 points in the standings right now, trailing Quad City of that 8th and final playoff spot. Right now, the Storm 3 points ahead of the Mayhem with 11 on the campaign. They're 4-7-3 through 14 games played. And Fayetteville, coming into this tilt, got off to an otherworldly start. They won 8 of their first 9 games. After beating the Mayhem on their home opener, they would be dropped by Knoxville in overtime, and from that point on, they won 7 in a row. And then started to come back down to earth. They now sit 3rd in the SPHL, tied with Pensacola for 3rd with a game in hand. They are 10-2-1, had last night off, so they will be well rested coming into this tilt. The referee for tonight's game will be Dan Gramado. The linesman will be Sean DeLoey and Dan Fendius. And Mac the mascot makes his way onto the Macon Centreplex ice for the first time tonight. To a round of applause from the Macon faithful here at the Centreplex. It is Teacher Awareness Night, or Teacher Appreciation Night, whatever you decide to call it. We're honoring the educators of the Middle Georgia community tonight with discounted tickets and some festivities during the intermissions tonight as well. Larry Smith has been given the nod to start on defense for Ryan Michael and the Mayhem this evening. Ben Campbell will be lining up to Smith's right. Campbell, a left-handed shooting defenseman, has had to adjust to the opposite point due to the Mayhem's shortage on right-handed blue liners. Fortunately, they got one of them back in Zach Urban, who met the team in Evansville last night. Jimmy Soper will start on Macon's forward line this evening, flanked by Marcus Ortiz on his right flank. And Steven Pirog will be centering that unit Lots of size and lots of leadership on that line between Pirog, Soper, and Ortiz. Kevin Atma, the man between the pipes tonight for the Macon Mayhem. Atma coming into this game, a record of 3-7-1, a 3.09 goals against average, and a .905 save percentage. Both of those numbers took quite a bit of a hit last night after the team gave up a franchise-high 10 goals. But to be fair to Atma, there were just too many chances in which he didn't really have much of a chance. Just too many players on Evansville's side left unmarked. The Mayhem promising to really tidy things up defensively tonight against a team that knows how to score. The Marksmen coming into this game averaging 3.62 goals per game. That's second in the league only to the Knoxville Ice Bears. The national anthem is next, folks. We'll be right back. Kenzie Copeland singing our country's national anthem and getting a well-earned round of applause and stick tap extended her way. Let's take a look at the Fayetteville Marksmen. And starting for them in goal will be Blake Woitala. The Mayhem have not faced him this season. Woitala coming into this game a 3-1-0 record, a 2.92 goals against average, and an .899 save percentage. Again, the only time the Mayhem have faced the Marksmen this season was back on home opening night, and Danny Taroni was in goal, stopped 39 of 41 shots. We'll see how the Mayhem fare with Blake Woitala guarding the crease for Fayetteville. Alec Marsh, Darius Davidson, the ex-Mayhem sniper, and Taylor Mccoy up front for Jesse Kalecki and the Marksmen. Oscar Arfelt and Josh Victor on defense. This will be Macon's 16th game of the 2019-20 regular season. Coming into this tilt, a record of 3-10-2. The Marksmen countering with a mark of 10-2-1. The referee for tonight's game is Dan Gormato. The linesmen are Sean Deloe and Dan Fendius. This is a huge opportunity for the Mayhem to bounce back after their lowest margin of defeat, or greatest margin of defeat, I should say, in franchise history. It's a game that they're trying to just really scrub from their memory. No better way to do that than with a couple of points tonight against one of the top teams in the SPHL. Again, Fayetteville tied for third in the league. They sit 2 points behind Peoria and Knoxville, who are tied with 23 on the campaign. Fayetteville with a plus 18 goal differential, also good for third in the league, again behind only Knoxville and Peoria in that order. Very respectable Fayetteville power play also makes its way into this building, led by Travis Jake, who typically quarterbacks things from the back end. 19.6% success rate on the man advantage, good for fourth best in the SPHL. Lots of challenges on hand for the Mayhem this evening. We'll see if they're up to them. Stephen Pirog wins the first faceoff of this game, and the Mayhem are off to a good start, winning the first one-on-one battle of the night. From the neutral zone, it's Ben Campbell floating the puck into the left corner, and it careens onto the stick of Oscar Arfelt, who turns it over in behind his own net. Good pressure by Pirog is put on. Puck's been twisted up the far half wall by Josh Victor, and we get an early stoppage in play. The linesman may be signifying for a hand pass. We're not getting any sort of arm gestures or anything from any of the officials, so we're just left to guess as to what the call was for. But the faceoff will take place in the far circle, the circle to the left of Blake Woitala. Stephen Pirog will take the draw. He'll be countered by Fayetteville's Taylor Mccoy. Mccoy wins it. Mccoy leading the Marksmen with a plus 11 rating this season. Big hit thrown by Jimmy Soper in front of the All-State bonding penalty box, but the Mayhem have been found guilty of icing 29 seconds into the game. That icing call has been brought to you by Tropical Smoothie Cafe. For the first time tonight, the Mayhem will face a defensive zone face-off here as Pirog and the starting line have to stay out there along with Larry Smith and Ben Campbell on the back end. Pirog against Max Cook in the face-off dot. The puck drops. Pirog 2 for 3 in the face-offs so far through his first shift. Soper will backhand one through out to the Mayhem logo at center ice where it's picked up by Brian Bowen. He turns it over and Ortiz marches in. He leaves it off. Soper with a shot blocked by Lesage and in timely fashion by the Fayetteville blue liner. Now Cameron, far circle, deposits it back into the adjacent corner. Max Cook will begin to accelerate out of his own zone. He feeds it to his left and a rink-wide pass finds Brian Bowen, who is stymied there by the linesman upon entering the Macon zone, and the puck flutters its way now into the near circle of the Macon end. Caleb Cameron sidesteps Bowen, gains the red line, floats it towards the Fayetteville blue line where it's picked off. Here come the Marksmen on a counterattack. Shane Bednard, outer hash marks of the near circle, slides it around the boards. Travis Jake awaits it, gets it, pressured by Lindstrom, and it's backhanded around the end wall now the other direction, out towards the near half wall where Stepan Timofeyev will scrap for it on the near side. Tim Keelik, near corner, is checked by Oliveira, loses the puck, and it squeaks its way right out to Ryan Devine, who floats it out to the red line. Darian Hamilton put it onto Shane Bednard's tape. He crossed the line offside, so the whistle blows, and we get a stoppage in play. 18-17 to go in the first period here. It's a scoreless game here at the Macon Centreplex. Thanks so much for joining us tonight, folks, on the Mayhem Broadcast Network. We hope you're enjoying your Saturday night. There will be a neutral zone face-off to take place in front of the Macon bench. Josh Kuzno with a clean win on the drawback to Zach Urban, who will slide it to his left. Jarrett Cupp up the near wing for Sean Lynch, who will whack it into Fayetteville territory. Good hit thrown there on the end wall by Danny Caesar. And Sean Lynch goes into the near corner to fight for it. Caesar from the far corner fights for it. Lynch scoops it up. Sean Lynch, top of the right circle, pulls the trigger, and it's swallowed up by Blake Woitala. If I'm not mistaken, that's his first save of this game. 17:47 to go in the first period. No score. Sean Lynch with Macon's first shot on goal. Lynch with a couple of points through 13 games played, a goal and an assist. Scored his first professional goal and first goal with the Mayhem just 16 seconds into his cousin's head coaching debut. The long pass finds its way out into the neutral zone, and Brian Bowen will just slip right by and shoot and score. Brian Bowen, pretty well uncontested, just accelerated right down the slot and beat Kevin Atma stick side on a partial breakaway. Brian Bowen, one of our players to watch tonight, has just scored his team-leading 8th goal on the season and his 15th point, and it's an early 1-0 Fayetteville lead. Goal coming at 2:28. And just not a good enough job done by the Mayhem on marking Brian Bowen. He's their leading scorer, and he was essentially allowed to just accelerate right down the slot, virtually uncontested. Larry Smith floats it into the opposite corner on the far side. Nicholas Sage has it and will fling it all the way down. That'll be an icing call against the Marksmen. That icing call has been brought to you by Tropical Smoothie Cafe. Brian Bowen with that last goal, 2:28 into the game. The University of Vermont product is highly skilled, leads the Marksmen now with 15 points on the campaign. Mayhem going to an offensive zone draw with Stephen Pirog failing to beat Shane Bednard in the circle. Loose puck finds Timofeyev behind the net, rather Ortiz, who tries to jam away at it and can't manage to find a hole through Blake Woitala from in behind the goal. Now it's Pirog. He will rattle it back to the line. Larry Smith gets his shot through, but it's well wide of the net. And Pirog will one-hand it along for Marcus Ortiz. Ortiz spins with it, Tries to buy some space, kicks it back up to his stick, turns and fires, gets blocked. He falls. P-Rod coughs up possession in the slot, and back the other way skates Fayetteville. The pass was outside of the reach of Bo McHugh. In the meantime, Larry Smith will work it up the near wall for Jimmy Soper. Smith can't clear it. McHugh takes it away and flutters a backhand pass across the ice. Max Cook from the far corner will put it in behind the net. And it's Alec Marsh fighting for it. He escapes with it. One-timer by Travis Jake is on, but stopped by Atma. Loose puck collected by Captain Max Cook, who centers. Larry Smith whacked it away. It pinballs on net, and Atma covers it up with his glove. He will just take a defensive zone face-off and a whistle with 16-17 to go in the first. The Marksmen leading by a 1-0 margin. Brian Bowen with the lone goal. A tough evening for a lot of these fans here with Georgia Bulldogs in the SEC Championship game, really taking a beating at the hands of the LSU Tigers. Puck leaks through Atma after a quick face-off shot, but ultimately it's skittered wide of the net. Devine will outlet it to his right. Caleb Cameron down the right side. He drives. Cameron couldn't find a way to center for Perez. He's knocked off balance in the near corner. And now it bounces to the right corner on the far side. Brett Johnson will put it behind the net, and out with it skates Fayetteville. Travis Jake backhands it up to Cook. The Mayhem intercept it. Oliveira springs one along. The Mayhem get an odd man rush. Timofeyev trying to slip through, but he lost the puck, and it trickles on to Woitala's crease. He will just hang on to it. Not sure Timofeyev saw Perez to his left there. He tried to sort of just split through himself, and admirable of a move as it was, it did not result in a shot on goal. Woitala was able to just cover it up at the top of his crease without much difficulty. The Mayhem will take an offensive zone draw to Woitala's left. Josh Kuzno to do the honors. Kuzno wins it. Caesar from the right point will rattle it down to the far corner. It bounces over Sean Lynch's stick. Caesar throws a big hit into the far half wall. In the meantime, it's Arfelt throwing it wide of the net. It's bouncing around down there in the far corner, and Danny Caesar will just hoist one out into neutral territory where it's gloved down by Josh Victor, making his marksman debut this evening. Puck is flung through center, and Tim Keelik will skate in across the Macon blue line. He rattles it down the boards, and Taylor McCloy has it. McCloy awkwardly fighting off Cousineau. No shot came there from Keelik as it bounces up in the air, and Cameron just jams it back across the blue line. That's Lynch, rather. Keelik is back on it at the red line. He will float one into Macon territory and go to the Fayetteville bench for a line change. At the next whistle, we'll go to our first media timeout of this game as Caesar just one-times it into Fayetteville territory. Swooping in behind his own net with it, Nicholas Sage. Now here comes Fayetteville. Puck is turned over by Frankie Melton in the neutral zone. Marcus Ortiz had overskated it a bit. Stephen Pirog at center. From the red line, coughs it up, and it's Alec Marsh for the Marksmen. Puck slides wide of Entma's net. He will just spin one around the far boards, and Soper's pass bounces off the near side wall. Pirog kicks it up to his stick and enters the Marksman zone. Puts it right between the skates of Donald Oliveira. And now it's been rattled back to the line for Larry Smith, whose shot pass was intentionally wide, but it didn't have the effect that Smith was hoping for. In the meantime, the puck's been sent back down the ice. Atma had to make a play on it because it was on net, so no icing. But here comes Cameron, and across the Fayetteville blue line is sized up into the half wall. Soper escapes with it, centers. Cameron point blank, backhand shot denied. Second shot denied also by Woitala. Wraparound attempt, sprawling pad save by Woitala on Jimmy Soper, and off comes the net. Fans here are upset because they believe that the net was intentionally dislodged by Fayetteville after that scramble in the crease. We're going to have our first media timeout of this hockey game. 1-0 is the score in favor of the Marksmen. A goal coming from Brian Bowen, just 2:28 into the contest. And right now the All-State bounding penalty box is open. So is the Beyond Taboo Tattoo penalty box. Don Oliveira is out at center, speaking with the referee and one of the linesmen. He does not appear to be too happy with the decision that they came to. It looks as though Oliveira is going to have a seat. He has been pleading his case for the past 30 seconds plus. The fans here starting to jeer at Oliveira, and he's not going to win the argument. He's going to have a seat. The Mayhem to the power play for their first time tonight. clicked twice yesterday, both goals coming in the third period. Both Macon third period goals came on the power play. We'll see what they can do here. Seeing Anton Lindstrom out there at the inner hash marks of the left, at the far circle rather. Marcus Ortiz getting set to take a pretty rare face-off here against Tim Keelik, but he wins the draw. Caesar will bounce it back to Jarrett Cupp, whose long snapshot redirects wide of the goal. Anton Lindstrom up to the line. Caesar's got it at the right point. He's able to salvage possession, but it's been turned over. Outlet pass nearly had a breakaway for Taylor Mccoy, but it was a bit behind him. Mccoy will just circle back, and Jarrett Cupp takes over from behind his own net. This Mayhem power play is brought to you by Wild Wings Cafe. Cousineau receives the pass. Down the left wing, he skates it. Cousineau centers, good pass, score! It's a tie game, power play goal for the Mayhem. It's 1-1, that's Danny Caesar, who has just cracked the double digits plateau in points this season. That's his 10th and his third goal. We've got a 1-1 score. This Macon power play has been on quite a roll here lately, folks. A pleasant surprise in an unpleasant situation. The power play over the past couple of seasons has struggled here in Macon, but yesterday night in Evansville certainly showed signs of life, and that's an understatement. It scored 2 power play goals in 1 period. And then tonight, just seconds into its first man advantage, the Mayhem coming through. The slap shot from the top of the right circle that was blocked. Oscar Arfelt taking the bid. Jimmy Soper intercepts the pass, gets right back onto Arfelt's stick, and he put it over, and the shot coming there from Bowen was denied by Atma. Bowen now sets up shop in front of the goal. Pass goes back off his stick and behind the net again, and now it's Brett Johnson sending it back to the line. Long wrist shot, fought off by Atma. It bounces in behind the net, and it's given now to Oliveira, who will nervously twist one from behind his own goal line out to the half wall, where it's been cleared down the length by Jimmy Soper, but no icing here as Danny Perez begins the forecheck for Macon. 12:27 to go here in the first period. We've got a 1-1 tie on our hands. Brian Bowen, Danny Caesar each scoring tonight for their respective teams. Larry Smith floats one down the left boards. Travis Jake is pressured by Caleb Cameron, who put it off the near corner and in behind the net. Jake again. Slide it over to Darian Hamilton, who couldn't clear it past Campbell at the right point. Campbell ricochets it back into the adjacent corner where Cameron fights for it with help from Lynch. Lynch will roll it to Campbell. Again, right point, can't get his shot through the traffic. And it's been delivered below the net again by Sean Lynch. Caleb Cameron had difficulty with it as it pops up to the near circle, and Darius Davidson, the ex-Mayhem, can't clear it past Lynch. Long slap shot. He's hoping for a redirect from Cameron, didn't get it. And here come the Marksmen. Larry Smith out racing Davidson to that loose puck. Travis Jake back in command as he's got the puck on his stick in his own zone. Stepan Timofeyev commencing the forecheck in the F1 position. Jake begins the breakout in the meantime and searches to his right for an open man. He finds one, but it was between his stick and his skates, and Marsh couldn't control it. Jake will get a second chance at it. This time he turns it over to Jarrett Cupp in the neutral zone. Cupp will float one off the far corner boards, and it bounces to the left side for Lindstrom. He will put it behind the net along the end wall for Cousineau. It's been whacked off his stick and out to center. Loose puck in the neutral zone is scooped up by Shane Bednard, who will go wide on Jarrett Cupp and taken behind the net. He's closed off by Cupp ultimately, and Caesar will start out with it for Macon. Absorbs a body check, but the puck doesn't exit the zone. Wrist shot by Bednard is denied by Kevin Atma. Square to the shot. Great positioning by the Macon netminder out on top of his crease to make that save and concede no rebound or second opportunity. There will be a face-off to Atma's left on his glove side. Came into last night's game in relief of Cody Porter. Put into a really tough situation. 16 of 23, Kevin Atma on the night. But to be fair to him, again, it was a really tough spot for any goaltender to be in last night. Max Cook from the red line slides it up to his left to his 11 o'clock, and the pass from across the crease didn't work out. There were no marksmen in the area. Now it's Ortiz escaping with it. Potential 2-on-1. Soper slides it into the slot. Here's Pirog racing in. He shoots, and a save is made by Wojtala. Excellent stop. He was deep in his net, but he made the save and didn't give up a second chance there. I believe Pirog tried to just jam it through Wojtala's 5-hole. But the Trenton, New Jersey native was able to make the save in the butterfly position. Wojtala from Trenton, New Jersey, though I imagine with a name like that, he's got to have probably Polish or Czech ancestry down the line at some point. Played 8 games last season for the Worcester Railers. This is his 5th start with the Fayetteville Marksmen. Marcus Ortiz rims one along the boards out to the near half wall, and stepping in, Oliveira gets caught, but Soper is back in his stead. Soper gets burned by Keelik, who steps in, fires, and a kick saved by Atma. Loose puck bounces out to the circle. Taylor Mccoy spins it back to the line. It's picked off by Caesar, who will spring Marcus Ortiz. Macon's leading goal scorer will snap a shot off, trying to use Keelik as a screen, but Wojtala was able to make the glove snag. We're halfway through the first period. A goal from each side. Fayetteville's goal coming just 2:28 into the contest. Brian Bowen with the strike, but Macon had a terrific response on the man advantage. Danny Caesar bearing what would be his 3rd goal on the season. Becomes just the 2nd player on the Mayhem to reach double digits in points this season, second only to Captain Stephen Pirog. That goal coming 6:47 into the contest. Josh Cousineau and Jarrett Cupp on the assists. It's a shame Jarrett Cupp was on a nice little point streak for a while. He was just 1 game away from tying a franchise record. He had a point in 5 consecutive games, which for a defenseman in particular is very impressive. And he was just 1 game away from tying Jake Trask, who has set the all-time record with 6 consecutive games with an assist. Trask did it from March 1st of 2018 through March 16th. He had 8 assists in a 6-game span. Jarrett Cupp coming just 1 game away from tying Trask's record. Caleb Cameron winning the draw cleanly, and Timofeyev's shot ricochets off the skates, it looked like, of Alec Marsh and wide of the goal. In the meantime, the Marksmen have just iced the puck, so this will be a whistle and a stoppage in play. That icing call has been brought to you by Tropical Smoothie Cafe. Hope you're enjoying your night, folks. On the Mayhem Broadcast Network, you're listening to Macon Mayhem Hockey on SPHL Live and on YouTube. Caleb Cameron, offensive zone faceoff. He's bested, and Travis Jake will fling one out into neutral territory. Nice defensive play made by Ben Campbell, who's had a good start to this game. Here comes Timofeyev, right down Main Street, had his shot kicked away by the right pad of Blake Wojtala, and now it rattles around the end wall out to the far half boards. It's scooped up defensively by Frankie Melton in his own zone. He sustains a pretty good size hit by Caleb Cameron, can't clear it past Smith. Smith centers it. Here's a wrist shot, bounces up in the air, cleared up the slot, and out comes Fayetteville with the puck. Bo McHugh from the red line will just slide one past Larry Smith into the right corner. Smith absorbs a hit from the much smaller Frankie Melton. Rookie out of Ferris State, played just a single season there before joining the professional landscape. Alec Marsh overskates it, Cousineau the other way. Caesar is wrapped up, and he will just turn and fire the puck in across the blue line. Bank pass out to center, lands right on Brett Johnson's stick. Johnson, making his marksman debut tonight, will just roll it down into the adjacent corner. Smith fighting for it, along with Max Cook. The Fayetteville captain twists in the far corner with it. Cook centers it. Nobody's there except for Sean Lynch. Lynch up to Cousineau. 2-on-2. Cousineau right side will just float one into the Lynch corner. He will be first there. The Syracuse, New York native is hit pretty hard into the end wall. Now comes Cook the other way. Cook across the blue line, barely onside. He will center it through Brian Bowen's skates. From the far half wall, it's chiseled off the boards and out into the neutral zone. Don Oliveira's got it. Oliveira up to Max Cook. Cook slides it over to Bowen. Miscommunication as he was heading to the Fayetteville bench. Marcus Ortiz fires it right off of Jimmy Soper. Pirog tried to march into the attacking zone, but too much wood on it as it was blasted off of his stick by the back-checking Tim Keelik. A wrist shot by Mccoy sails over the net. Brett Johnson sustains a check. Pirog's pass goes through Soper all the way down. Icing is the call against Macon. 7:46 to go in the first period. 1-1 your score, and the faceoff will go back into the Macon zone. Zach Urban upset because he's got to stay out there, and Alex de Oliveira wanted to come out, as did Ryan Devine. They'll have to go back to the bench. Now Devine actually being told to go back onto the ice. The Mayhem going to a defensive zone draw. It'll be Shane Bednard against Stephen Pirog in the left circle of the Macon zone. The puck drops. Pirog's been very good in the faceoff circle tonight and this season. He wins another one. Zach Urban, near corner, trying to advance it up the wall. He's able to get it to Pirog eventually, and the Macon captain will just skate it out to neutral territory, well outnumbered, and just dump it into the offensive zone himself on goal, handled by Woitala, spun to Keelik, who will twist one along for Travis Jake. Nearly a dangerous turnover. Soper was there, but the puck was too hot to handle. Now Lindstrom tries to settle it, diving to keep the attack going. Great effort by the Swede in just his second game with the Mayhem. Ryan Devine is back on it from the red line. He will sidestep Keelik, enters the attacking zone, floats it off the glass on the near side, goes into the corner with it. Keelik has it, near side corner for Fayetteville. He will float one. It's been cleared by Taylor Mccoy out in front of the Macon bench. Devine from the red line. From his backhand, will just punch one back into Fayetteville territory. Travis Jake, the Boston College product, is back to get it. Lindstrom couldn't rattle it down the boards the way he wanted to. Jake's stick was there to intercept it. Now here comes Alec Marsh the other way and across the blue line. Cuts to the outside against Larry Smith, who forces him wide along the half wall, and he will just rim it around the boards. Caleb Cameron is there on the near side to commence the breakout. He floats it down the left wall. First to it will be Nicholas Sage. Takes a check from Timofeyev, but gets rid of it. And it's Bo McHugh. Will just float one high in the air, settled by Ben Campbell, who just whacked it back into the Fayetteville zone. 6:14 to go here in the first period. 1-1 is your score. Danny Caesar responding to a goal scored by Brian Bowen from Fayetteville earlier in this game. Just 2:28 into the contest, and then Caesar's coming at 6:47. A loose puck is whacked along into the half wall area by Frankie Melton. Now it's Lesage, whose breakout pass redirects off the stick of Melton, who goes in after it against Zach Urban. Jarrett Cupp up to Perez. Perez drops it to Caesar and gets a quick return. Enters the attacking zone. Offside is the call by the linesman, so we get a whistle and a stoppage in play with 5:40 to go in the first period. The faceoff will come back out into the neutral zone here. And it will take place right in front of the All-State Bonding penalty box. Coming into this tilt, the Mayhem still leading the league in penalty minutes per game. 17.73 the average, the amount of penalties this team takes per game. Fayetteville just 11.6, good for 7th in the SPHL. No icing here as Jarrett Cupp will have to play it from inside of the trapezoid. Will reverse it and get a return from Zach Urban. Cupp with his head up. Flings a diagonal pass off the stick of Sean Lynch, who couldn't handle it. But he then forces a turnover in the offensive zone with a good stick. We get another penalty here. It's going to be a high sticking call. I believe this is against Fayetteville. Max Cook, the marksman captain, reluctantly skating into the All-State Bonding penalty box. It'll be Macon's second consecutive power play opportunity here. They converted on their first chance, and it didn't take them long to do so. The penalty was called at 6:16. The goal was scored at 6:47, so it only took the Mayhem 31 seconds of power play time for Danny Caesar to strike. We'll see what this man advantage can do yet again here. They're on a nice little roll. 2 power play goals last night in the third period, and another one tonight. Marcus Ortiz take the offensive zone face-off. Interesting, we do not see Marcus Ortiz taking very many face-offs throughout the season, but on the power play, Ryan Michael has devised a plan in which Ortiz is the one taking the draw. So from the far corner, he will float one to the near corner now for Anton Lindstrom. He will just return it to Ortiz below the goal line, who will shovel it to the half marks on the far side. The hash marks rather. Cup shot deflects wide, and Josh Kuzno put it back in behind the net. Lindstrom will hold the line and center it for Cup in the deep slot with a head fake and a dish to his right for Danny Caesar. Puts it below the goal line again and gets it quickly back from Ortiz. Up to Cup, again at the line. Returns it. Ortiz slap shot on target. Stopped by Woitala. Right in the chest. Good movement by the Mayhem on that man advantage. This Macon power play is brought to you by Wild Wing Cafe. 1:27 to go here in the first period. I beg your pardon, on the power play. 4:45 to go in the first period. 1-1 is your score. The first goal coming from Brian Bowen at 2:28. The next from Danny Caesar on a Macon power play at 6:47. We're going to take a brief pause on the Mayhem Broadcast Network. We'll be back in just a moment, folks. Keep it right here on SPHL Live and on YouTube.
Tickets sold for cause your heart desires. If you were to sell 50 tickets, for example, you would collect $250 for your fundraiser. Call our office at 478-803-1592 for more information.
So the Mayhem will go to another offensive zone faceoff here, and it will be Ortiz again. So Ryan Michael really confident in this unit. He keeps the same 5 skaters out there following the third and final media timeout of period 1, but an errant puck drop, premature puck drop, will result in this strategy having to shake up a little bit. Anton Lindstrom stepping in, can't win the faceoff in Ortiz's stead, but he does win the puck from the far corner. He'll backhand it off a Fayetteville stick. It's taken away by the Marksmen and cleared out to center and beyond, as Kuzno couldn't corral it with his stick. There'll be an interference penalty called against Anton Lindstrom, it appears. He is skating into the Beyond Taboo Tattoo penalty box, and that has killed off Macon's second power play of the night. Fayetteville will get a 45-second man advantage after the next minute 15 of 4-on-4 time. Whether or not there's a goal scored, both players will remain in their respective penalty boxes. This is the first 4-on-4 situation we've had in this game. Stephen Pirog again, an ace on the dot, winning the defensive zone draw. Jarrett Cupp. Smooth skating defenseman out of Rosso, Ontario, sets up Soper in across the line. Cupp redirects it over the crossbar. Good give and go between him and his fellow Canadian from Waterloo, Ontario, Jimmy Soper. Now here come the Marksmen on a quick counterattack. Snapshot from the left circle by Keelik is denied by Atma. And that was Frankie Melton, rather, taking the shot from the left circle. Melton having progressed through the North American Hockey League before earning his Division I commitment to Ferris State, where he played for just 1 season. An ex-St. Louis Junior Blue. 22 years old and just his first professional campaign here. The St. Louis Junior Blues in the NA3HL, and then advanced to the North American Hockey League, where he spent time with the Shreveport Mudbugs under Carlos Zernis, a Latvian-born head coach who is now at Alaska Fairbanks. Here comes Danny Perez, swiveling in across the blue line, scores! Danny Perez has given the Mayhem their first lead of the game. It's 2-1 Macon, another special teams goal. Well, it's not considered a power play goal because the Mayhem and the Marksmen are now on a 4-on-4. Guess we'll call it another goal that didn't come on the 5-on-5. Danny Perez with an excellent outside-inside maneuver has just joined the 10-point club with Danny Caesar. That's his 5th goal on the season, 10th point on the campaign, and the Mayhem lead 2-1. Travis Jake flies down the right wing side, puts his head up and looks for an open man. He will just slide one across the ice. It bounces off the half wall on the far side. Brian Bowen's got it. Bowen slips one into the slot. It bounces around and it's whacked up in the air, and ultimately is held in the zone at the right point by Taylor Mccoy, who will slide it to Travis Jake at the left point. Jake floats a saucer pass to the right point. Brian Bowen switches places with him. Jake just spears it down towards the half wall on the near side. Ben Campbell will float one all the way down over Cook's head, who had just exited the All-State Bonding penalty box. Couldn't even hear if there was a whistle because it's pretty loud in here. The Marksmen have returned to full strength. That was not icing because the Mayhem are on a 30-second long penalty kill here. Cook will flip one over, and Brian Bowen is offside. So the Mayhem will remain on the PK for the next 21 seconds. 2:53 to go here in the first period. Macon with a 2-1 lead. Goals by Danny Caesar and Danny Perez. Both Dannys tonight have scored for Macon. Marcus Ortiz to take a neutral zone face-off in front of the Macon bench against Taylor Mccoy. Travis Jake slides it along. It's been dumped into the offensive zone by Brett Johnson. Zach Urban is well covered. Coughs up to Johnson, who sends it to the left circle for a quick shot that's blocked by Atma. And here comes Caesar with a lot of open ice on the left side, is off wing. He loses a handle on the puck after dipping the shoulder, and fortunately no contact there with Blake Woitala. The Mayhem returning to full strength. Back to the 5-on-5 we go. The Mayhem improving to 1-for-1 on the J&J's heating and air conditioning penalty kill. And our 1-for-2 on the power play. Despite scoring in the power play time period, it was not a power play goal because both teams were on a 4-on-4. The Mayhem just been found guilty of a Tropical Smoothie Cafe icing. The Mayhem 1-for-2 on the man advantage. Fayetteville 0-for-1 on theirs. And again, defensive zone face-off here for Macon. And it's won cleanly by Anton Lindstrom, who's had to slide over from the left wing to play center on occasion here tonight already. Caesar in front of the Macon bench will float one ahead. It's accelerated by Pirog and played by Blake Woitala quickly to his right. Jimmy Soper forces a loose puck in the neutral zone. It's been swiveled across the blue line by Alec Marsh, who will leave it now for Oliveira on the right side. He fired it from a near impossible angle off the outside of the right elbow of the goal. Here come the Mayhem. Soper through center with speed. He enters the Fayetteville zone, delivers it to Pirog, who fires off the shoulder of Woitala. And the puck will be battled for now in the near corner of the Fayetteville zone. 1:25 to go here in this period. Ben Campbell's jump did not keep the puck in the offensive zone. And Sean Lynch will just spear it in below the Fayetteville goal line. Oliveira is there. Soper finished his check on Oliveira. Keelik will bounce it off the boards out to neutral territory. Darius Davidson into the attacking zone. He'll slide it down the half wall on the near side. It's picked off by Ryan Devine. We'll float one across to Timofeyev. Here's Kuzno now down the right wing. Josh Kuzno centers it. Nobody's there. Through Davidson's skates. Right back to Devine, whose long point shot gets blocked. Here comes the dangerous Max Cook. Devine poking and prying away. Good defensive recovery by Ryan Devine. Here comes Timofeyev on his off wing. He's well defended by Oscar Arfelt, and Arfelt ultimately knocked the puck off his stick. Cameron back to Urban, now to Campbell. 31 seconds to go here in the first period. Cameron outracing everybody for an icing call as he's pinned up to the far corner boards by Josh Victor, making his marksman debut this evening. A 4-player scrum that's equally divided ensues in below the Fayetteville goal line. Pirog dig in there with his stick, trying to just force a loose puck. Time winding down. The marksman content to just let the clock expire here. Pirog not giving up on it, still trying to move the puck, shoveling and jamming away with his stick, and finally, time has expired. And that is a good sign for the Mayhem, the fact that the marksmen just pinned themselves virtually up against the end wall to prevent any puck movement on Macon's part. I'd say that's a pretty good testament to what the Mayhem were able to do in the offensive zone in this period. They exit period one with a 2-1 advantage, which has not happened very often this season. The Mayhem, through their first 15 games of the campaign, have led after period one just twice. When leading after one, the Mayhem are a perfect 2-0-0. Good start for the Mayhem, who, albeit made a pretty good-sized blunder against Brian Bowen when he had the puck in the slot. Nobody really marked him, and he just kind of accelerated right down Broadway. And Kevin Atma was in pretty good position, but Bowen, a very good goal scorer. He leads the marksman with 8 goals on the season and 15 points in the campaign now. You just can't give a guy like that sort of opportunity just 2.5 minutes into the game, and Bowen made the Mayhem pay for it. However, from that point on, it was all Mayhem. They would end up out-shooting Fayetteville 11-8 through the first period of play. They outchanced Fayetteville, particularly in the later stages, mid to later stages of that first period. Goals coming just under 10 minutes apart. Danny Caesar with a power play strike, 6:47 into the contest. Josh Kuzno, Jarrett Cup on the assists, and then a 4-on-4 goal was scored by Daniel Perez. And that was really fantastic effort by Perez. He was sort of robbed last night. He had an excellent coast-to-coast move, which didn't result in a goal. And we posted on the Mayhem Twitter account. For those of you who may not have seen it, who are curious to see what it looked like, it was a fantastic move by Daniel Perez that just did not lead to a goal due to a nice pad save by Braden Ostapchuk. But I'd say after that really sort of coast-to-coast individual effort that the Mayhem power forward made, he deserved a goal tonight, and he got one. Really put his the power of his wrist shot on display, cutting to the outside and fooling the Mayhem the Fayetteville defenseman into going wide, then quickly cutting back to the inside and just powering it past Fayetteville's goaltender, Blake Woitala. Hard, heavy wrist shot by Perez gave the Mayhem their first lead of this game. And again, folks, Macon has played in 15 games this season, this being the 16th. This is just the third time in which the Mayhem head into the first intermission with a lead, and they won both of those games. So good start for Macon. We'll see if they can keep the good times rolling during period 2. In the meantime, folks, we're going to step aside and take a pause for the cause on the Mayhem Broadcast Network. We know you've been yearning to hear from the Mayhem head coach, Ryan Michael. We didn't do our customary start to this broadcast because we had a lot to cover, so we saved the first intermission interview for intermission number 1. Ryan Michael is next on the Mayhem Broadcast Network. We'll be back in just a moment, folks. 2-1 Mayhem, your score through the first 20 minutes of play. Keep it right here.
Okay, welcome back, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us tonight on the Mayhem Broadcast Network. You're listening to Macon Mayhem Hockey on SPHL Live, powered by Endeavor Streaming and on YouTube. Had the chance to catch up with the Mayhem head coach, Ryan Michael, at the onset of tonight's game. Coach, the first thing I wanted to ask you was about last night. It was a tough loss for the Mayhem, a pretty one-sided affair, certainly on the scoreboard at least. But I think that one thing that sort of might have misled some folks were the shots on goal. It was certainly an anomaly with how one-sided those were in favor of Macon. So maybe, I guess, for some folks who weren't able to watch the game, would you mind just kind of summarizing what happened last night?
The work ethic away from the puck on the D side just wasn't there. I felt like everybody was willing to work a little harder and press a little bit more in the O zone, and then when it came to losing possession and through the neutral zone in our end, we didn't have the urgency or the discipline, the work ethic to win the game. Obviously, looking at the shots heavily in our favor, a lot of ours I thought from the outside. Granted, we had some chances that we didn't capitalize on, but the majority of their goals are right in front of our net on odd man rushes and guys standing alone in front of our net. So while I guess it's a positive looking at the shots, doubling them a little bit, the negative is certainly the quality of theirs were much greater than the quality of ours.
Yeah, it was definitely a case of quality versus quantity last night. And to Evansville's credit, it really didn't seem like they missed too many opportunities. Virtually every time they had a point-blank chance, they made the Mayhem pay for it. The Mayhem, in comparison, lots of shots on goals, ended up being a season high with 49. They forced Braden Ostapchuk to make some good saves, but ultimately the Evansville netminder was equal to the task for most of the night. Coach, I wanted to ask you about Anton Lindstrom. He debuted yesterday. What did you think of his play last night?
He did pretty well. Obviously, kind of not really being in game situation since his camp in Wheeling. I thought he was pretty good. The ice there in Evansville is a little bit bigger, so it was a little bit of a tougher adjustment, kind of with the size of the rink, I think, for him a bit. But I certainly, saw some positives, especially in the O zone below kind of the dots in terms of protecting pucks and making little skill plays on the wall. So hopefully tonight, on the smaller ice, he's got his legs under him a bit, and he can kind of build off last night and keep improving.
Yeah, well, we'll see. A lot of Europeans, they're excited to come over to the United States because of the small ice surface. So we'll see what happens there, and we're interested to see what kind of role that Anton Lindstrom ends up playing here for the Mayhem. One player that will be missing tonight, a veteran here, a guy who's really important to the team on and off the ice, and Stathis Sumilidis. He was suspended sort of late. A lot of people didn't even find out about it until about an hour ago. What exactly happened there with Stathis, and what does his absence mean for tonight?
Live, I kind of caught the tail end of it. It was like an incidental contact, but Stathis is a bigger kid, and the guy he ran into was smaller, and it was certainly kind of an arm, shoulder to head contact, and in this day and age with concussions, hockey leagues, from every level, we're trying to cut down on that. So, kind of catching the tail end of it live, I thought, this would be a possibility for sure, and sure enough it is. And, for us, it hurts in terms of kind of losing that leadership, the veteran leadership, guy that plays power play, penalty kills, and so that just means, somebody else kind of has to step up and fill that role tonight.
Are you going to sort of kind of shift Jimmy Soper into that position as he's sort of the alternate captain on the road, and Sumi alternate captain on home and away? Is that sort of the plan in terms of, speaking with officials regarding calls and things like that?
Yeah, I mean, Soaps is one of our captains, so, it's not really, I guess, a new thing for him. I thought he's been pretty good lately, so just kind of continue what he's doing on the ice and, maybe step up a little bit more vocally on the bench or in the locker room between periods.
So another player who will be debuting tonight, Alex de Oliveira. We were expecting to see him yesterday, but with what's been going around with the flu and everything, he wasn't able to suit up, unfortunately. But we will see him for the first time playing tonight for the Mayhem, wearing the number 3. When I asked you about him earlier, you said he's a solid defenseman who plays well in sort of simple situations. What exactly did you mean by that?
Just being good in our end and, hitting, pinning guys and, keeping guys on the other side, keeping himself between opposing players in our net, and then just making a quality first play out of our zone, whether that's, a direct pass or a glass and out. I think as a team, we have to be better at that. Our breakouts, our percentage of not getting out the first time is hurting us in terms of turnovers and chances against, as well as defending zone time. So I think for him, it's just kind of playing simple, like I said, just making the easy play, the play that's in front of him, and just taking it a shift at a time, and I think he'll be all right.
So maybe a Larry Smith type of defenseman?
Yeah, I think you can never really have too many of those sometimes, so just get the puck to our forwards and, let them kind of do the work offensively.
Absolutely. Well, that's certainly an area that the Mayhem can use some help in, so we're looking forward to seeing what number 3 in the Navy sweaters can do for the Mayhem tonight. Last question for you, Coach, and then I'll let you get going. Fayetteville's in town for the first time since the home opener. They sort of stole that one. If you remember, it was a great game. The Mayhem took a 2-0 lead. Fayetteville came back, forced overtime, stole it in overtime. This is a team that's gotten off to a really good start. They've been on a nice, steady upward climb since Jesse Kalecki has taken over as the head coach. What kind of team is going to be coming into this building tonight?
They're fast and skilled, and they play faster than they are in terms of individual versus team. Breakouts, they get out clean most times, and that kind of starts their transition offense, and for us it's about kind of slowing them down and playing hard on them on the puck and away from the puck, making them earn 200 feet as a group and making them earn every inch individually, and those are the things we almost have to do. That's critical for us to have some success tonight.
Sounds great, Coach. Well, best of luck. It's going to be a good game tonight. Got a feeling. Go get 2 points, and again, good luck tonight.
Thanks, Alex.
That's Ryan Michael, head coach for your Macon Mayhem. This has been your first intermission report. We'll be back in just a moment with your Hampton Inn and Suites out-of-town scoreboard update and more right after this.
Okay, welcome back, everybody. We hope you enjoyed that exclusive intermission interview with Mayhem head coach Ryan Michael, the 27-year-old bench boss, coming into a tough situation. He has taken over the leadership of this team, a team that when he took over had really been struggling, and since he's taken over, the struggles have not simply just vanished or anything like that. They have continued. but there have been some areas in which the team has certainly started to see some promise. And Ryan Michael actually won his first game as the team's head coach back on Friday, November 22nd against the Evansville Thunderbolts, a 4-2 victory. However, since that tilt, the team's dropped 4 straight. The Mayhem looking to get back on the winning trail now, and I think it's fortunate for them that with what happened last night, obviously just a game that the Mayhem want to, if possible, erase from their memory. It broke all the wrong records, folks. It was the most goals the Mayhem had ever allowed in a single game. It was the largest margin of defeat the Mayhem had ever sustained. It was the most combined goals in a single game. You name it. So just bad records that you don't want to break, were broken yesterday. And after a game like that, the Mayhem just, they want to move on from it and move forward. And the best way to do that is by winning the next game as soon as possible. And I think it's fortunate for the Mayhem that a game like that happened on a Friday night on the road, the day before they had a home game against a very solid opponent. Now, if the situation were reversed and the Mayhem were to play at home on Friday night and go up to Evansville on Saturday and to have that game on a Saturday and then have to wait nearly a full week to play again, that I imagine would have been far more miserable for the Mayhem. A situation like this, it was not a good effort defensively for the Mayhem last night. Coach Michael said it. There was not enough pressure by the Mayhem in the defensive zone. They were hungrier on pucks in the offensive zone than they were in their own end, and they just gave up on too many plays in which, had they battled a little bit harder, the situation would have been much different. So to have a game like that on a Friday night, I don't want to call it a blessing in disguise, but it might just be that. It gives the Mayhem the opportunity, really, A, to get a wake-up call, and B, to not sit around for a week having to wait to respond. So the final score of the LSU-Georgia game, it was just announced by our public address announcer tonight. If I'm not mistaken, he said the final score was 35-10 in favor of Louisiana State. So disappointing outcome for, I'd say, the vast majority of the fans here at the Macon Centreplex this evening, most of whom are staunch Georgia Bulldogs fans. So the SEC championship goes to LSU. I'm not extremely familiar with how the college football scenario works. Being from Chicago, college football is not really, doesn't really take precedence up there. But if what I'm saying is correct, my coworkers earlier told me that Georgia would still qualify for a bowl game, though they will not advance to the playoffs. At least that's how I understood it. As for the Mayhem, well, they're up by a goal, so hopefully, for much of our fans' sake, the Mayhem can come away with a much-needed 2 points tonight and sort of ease the blow of Georgia losing the SEC championship game to LSU tonight in Atlanta. Let's take a look at how we got to this point. 2-1 is the score in favor of Macon, 1 for 2 on the power play. Could have been 2 for 2. They scored on what should have been a power play goal, but it ended up just being a 4-on-4 because of an interference penalty called against Anton Lindstrom well away from the play, so that ended up costing the Mayhem what would have been a second straight power play goal tonight. But a 4-on-4 goal is a goal is a goal. The Mayhem will take it. Here's how it all happened. Brian Bowen started the scoring off, unassisted strike, 228 into the contest, just bolting right down Main Street, down the slot, uncontested. There were 3 Mayhem players there, and I think that's a goal that Ryan Michael will be pretty upset about, I imagine, because it was essentially a glimpse of exactly what he was talking about when he said in the defensive zone the Mayhem were not hungry enough on pucks yesterday. That was a perfect example. The Mayhem had 3 players, all within probably a 10-foot radius of that puck, and it was Brian Bowen really the only player who seemed to want the puck and be on top of it and after it, and there just was not enough attention given to Brian Bowen, who every time he's got the puck, a player like that warrants a good amount of defensive attention. Again, Brian Bowen leads the team in scoring. He's a University of Vermont product, a longtime USHLer. He's extremely high-skilled, and he was in a very dangerous scoring area. There's really no excuse for why the Mayhem did not really collapse on him and at least make it difficult for him. He just sort of scooped the puck up in the high slot and just waltzed right down Main Street, and Kevin Atma was left out to dry. And he was beaten stick side just inside the right post. Bowen was able to snipe it past him for his 8th goal of the season. However, that was a good wake-up call for the Mayhem, who really took control of the rest of the period. For the remaining 17 and a half minutes, they were the better team. They outscored Fayetteville 2-1 in that opening stanza, outshot them 11-8. Danny Caesar's response came 4 minutes and 19 seconds after Bowen's goal, and came just 31 seconds into Macon's first power play. Don Oliveira, a longtime SPHL veteran, was penalized for delay of game, and Josh Cousineau and Jarrett Cupp connected in the neutral zone. Cupp to Cousineau on the left wing, zone entry across the blue line, and Caesar was breaking towards the net down the opposite side on the right wing. Cousineau fed a nice cross-ice pass. I believe it was a good saucer pass over the lone marksman defenseman's stick. Landed right on Caesar's tape, and the longtime Knoxville Ice Bear made it look easy. He just tapped it inside the right post and beat Blake Wojtala for the first time in the game, thereby joining the 10-point company with his 10th point on the campaign. Caesar with his 3rd goal, and another power play goal for Macon tied things up. Then just less than 10 minutes later, there was a 4-on-4 situation. Max Cook was found guilty of high sticking. Anton Lindstrom, less than a minute later, sent to the box for interference, and the ensuing 4-on-4 yielded a Macon goal by Daniel Perez, who utilized the open ice to his advantage. Ben Campbell, by the way, if I'm not mistaken, will get his 2nd point with the Mayhem with the secondary assist. Caleb Cameron given the primary, but that was a very good individual effort by Daniel Perez. He motored down through center ice with a lot of speed, just like he did yesterday on several occasions. Displayed extreme confidence, had his head up the whole time, entered the attacking zone. He sort of sold it as though he were going to skate wide on the Fayetteville defense, and he cut back to the inside and just hammered a heavy wrist shot past Blake Wojtala. I think that caught Wojtala by surprise, because there are not a lot of players in this league who can get that sort of velocity on a shot from that range that quickly, folks. That was a Phil Kessel-esque release by Danny Perez. I know he's the wrong-handedness, but that's just an NHL player who comes to mind as somebody who's got just such a quick release with his wrist shot and just gets so much on the shot with seemingly so little effort. And that's a sign of a good goal scorer, a natural goal scorer, somebody who can make it look easy when that couldn't be further from the truth. So 2-1 is the score. Danny Perez giving the Mayhem their go-ahead goal. Let's look at a few situational statistics here. We mentioned how through the only 2 games this season in which the Mayhem have led at the first intermission, they have won both of those games. They're 2-0-0 when leading after 1. They're 0-5-0 when trailing after 1. And they're 1-5-2 when tied after 1. However, when allowing the first goal, the Mayhem are just 1-8-1. They're 1-4-1 at home. They have yet to score the first goal on the road. They have yet to score the first goal of a game on the road this season. They're 0-4-0 on the road, so still looking for their first road victory, but they won't have the chance to do that anytime soon because the Mayhem will be at home for the next several weeks. Tonight kicks off a 5-game Mayhem homestand. They will host the Quad City Storm next Friday and Saturday, followed by a home tilt against Roanoke on December the 20th and against Birmingham on December the 21st. So 5 straight home games for the Mayhem, and this gives them a golden opportunity to really sort of turn this season around, folks. If they can string together a few wins over this homestand, they will put themselves in a solid position going forward. Good news for them is they're hosting the Quad City Storm next week. I shouldn't say that's good news, but the Storm are also a team that has struggled recently. The Mayhem, or I beg your pardon, the Storm are the only team yet that the Mayhem have not faced this season throughout the SPHL. They've got a former Mayhem sniper in Dakota Kletcha. Quad City right now sits just 3 points ahead of the Mayhem in the standings. And speaking of, let's take a look at our first out-of-town scoreboard update of this game, brought to you by Hampton Inn and Suites. Unlike last night, which was a peculiarly idle night, only 4 teams in the SPHL out of 6, or I beg your pardon, out of 10 were playing, and 6 were idle, which is strange for a Friday night. But tonight, that's not the case. All 10 teams in the league are active. The Marksmen, of course, here in Macon, trailing the Mayhem by a 2-1 score. The Knoxville Ice Bears in Roanoke this evening. The Rail Yard Dogs going up against an opponent that's really had a great start to the season, whereas the Rail Yard Dogs have not. However, they've got a 2-0 lead at the start of period 2. The Pensacola Ice Flyers hosting the Huntsville Havoc. That game yet to be underway. It's in the pregame festivities right now. Birmingham will be in Evansville at 8:15 p.m. Eastern Time, 7:15 local. And Peoria will host Quad City at the same time, 7:15 p.m. Central, 8:15 Eastern. That wraps up your first out-of-town scoreboard update of this game, brought to you by Hampton Inn and Suites. In the meantime, the game that you're all here to see and listen to, whether you're on SPHL Live or on YouTube, is just about to be back underway. Again, folks, we're so glad to have you with us tonight on the Mayhem Broadcast Network. We hope you're enjoying your evening. So we will be at even strength heading into period 2. The Mayhem having outshot the Marksmen by a 3-point margin, 11-8, the discrepancy there in shots on goal in favor of Macon. Experiencing a minor delay here, it looks like, as right now meeting the linesman at center ice is Taylor Mccoy from Fayetteville, one of the alternate captains for the Marksmen. With the words of Jesse Kalecki ringing sharply in their ears, we'll see what the visitors have in store for us to start period 2. The Mayhem hoping to use this game as a means to bounce back from a tough defeat last night on the road in Evansville. Another good start to the period as Stephen Pirog wins the first face-off. But the clearing attempt by Campbell meets Keelik, and now it's fought for by Pirog at the red line. He will dump it in around the sideboards. It's halted behind his net by the Fayetteville goaltender Blake Woitala. Marcus Ortiz is able to cut off his clearing attempt. On the near side corner boards, he fights for it with some help coming from Soper, but the Marksmen had the two of them outnumbered, and it's been flung up the far wing by Nicholas Sage, and the Marksmen are out to center with it. Here comes McCloy, left side, dips the shoulder, and shovels the backhander off the protective netting and out of play. That shot coming 33 seconds into the second period off the stick of Taylor McCloy. McCloy leads the Marksmen with a +11 rating. Played in 3 seasons with Kevin Atma at Adrian College. He's coming off a strong rookie campaign with Fayetteville. Number 9 in white, Taylor McCloy. Max Cook will take this offensive zone draw against Caleb Cameron, who beat him cleanly. Timofeyev redirects it up to Anton Lindstrom, who tries to pass it to himself. Stephen Pirog patented self-pass, but it was broken up by the Marksman defenseman Oscar Arfelt, his countryman. Now it's Cameron who will dump it into the left corner where it'll bounce off the boards near the Texas Roadhouse dasher. Lindstrom, Timofeyev both fighting for it. Timofeyev to the front of the net, turns and fires. It never reached Woitala. It was blocked by a Marksman stick, and now at center ice, it's flung back and across the Fayetteville blue line. It caroms in behind the net inside of the trapezoid where it's played by Josh Victor. Victor begins the breakout in front of the Fayetteville net. He sends it off of one of his teammates' skates. It was Brian Bowen who coughs it up. Lynch drops it to the trigger man, Josh Cousineau, who will salvage it and feed it back to the blue line for Jarrett Cup. Long wrister bounces wide of the right post. And now it's scrapped for by Sean Lynch in the near corner. Ricochets it back to the line for Urban, whose shot just misfires. Wide of the right post again. Now it's Bowen from the far half wall. He will just clear it out into the neutral zone. Jarrett Cup is back on it, and he will slide it up to Sean Lynch on his off wing. Lynch passed it off the skates of Alec Marsh. Pinballs into the right corner in the Fayetteville zone. Josh Victor Right up the middle, he goes with it. Brian Bowen's pass reaches Alec Marsh, who jumps in across the Macon blue line and fires. Atma the save. Big rebound up the slot, but it's rescued by Pirog and floated out in the direction of Travis Jake at the neutral zone. And he takes a check from Caesar. Loose puck skitters over the blue line. Nice pass. And the second pass redirects over the net. Jarrett Cupp got his stick in the lane. Well, Zach Urban fights for it. Far half wall. Scooting free with it is Bednard, who coughs it up to Caesar. Gets back on it. Whacks it below the goal line. And Urban feathers it further. Jarrett Cupp is after it. Marsh puts it behind the net. Puck flutters over the glove there of Bo McHugh. And the Mayhem still not out of the woods yet as Zach Urban will attempt to clear. He gets it out just past Jimmy Soper. The Marksman right back into the attacking zone as Darian Hamilton will skate it down the left side, but an offside whistle blows. 17-13 to go here in the second period. 2-1 Macon is your score. Here on Teacher Appreciation Night, a nice gesture by our public address announcer, shouting at all the teachers and school faculty in attendance tonight here on Teacher Appreciation Night. Next Friday and Saturday, the Mayhem will have the Grinch Night, followed by Teddy Bear Toss Night on Saturday. Here's Timofeyev on his off wing, fires a wrist shot through a screen that was shouldered and ultimately gloved by Blake Woitala. The first time one of the Mayhem forwards upon entering the zone have used the Marksman defenders as screens. That's what happens. The Marksman defenders, they're very good with their spacing and their gaps. They do not allow a whole lot of room for the Mayhem attackers to maneuver. And one of the few positives that brings for the puck carrier is using him as a screen, and sometimes it causes the goaltender to react just a second too late to the shot as a result because they can't see it until a split second later, and sometimes that's all it takes. Delayed penalty upcoming against the Mayhem. They will be going back to the box. This will be the second time tonight the Mayhem are on the PK. I believe tripping is called against Caleb Cameron. The Mayhem 1-for-1 on their lone penalty kill tonight, though that was not a full-length power play. It was an abbreviated one due to the 4-on-4 situation. 16:47 left to go here in the second period. 2-1 Macon is the score. Fayetteville hoping to go to its first full power play here. This man advantage, ever since Jesse Kalecki has taken over, has been very respectable. Just shy of 20% on the conversion rate so far this season. Good enough for fourth best in the SPHL, but Larry Smith gets an early clear as it's played by Blake Woitala, the Fayetteville netminder, whose pass is taken away by Danny Caesar. Is brought down, no penalty. Mayhem players wanting one, but none is coming. Marcus Ortiz pressuring the puck carrier, directing traffic, forcing all kinds of issues in the Fayetteville zone. He will go after the loose puck. The Marksmen have really had difficulty breaking the puck out of their own zone. Ortiz's sharp angle shot is easily denied by Woitala, and here come the Marksmen the other way. It's Cook feeding it to his right. And the shot there coming from Taylor McCloy is off the mark. Bowen, Cook, Bowen, Jake. Good skate-to-stick reception at the blue line. Travis Jake with a wrist shot. Redirected and swatted out of midair all the way down the ice. Good stick save by Kevin Atma. I believe he was the one who got it with his glove. Perhaps it was one of the Mayhem defenders. It was tough to see. But Travis Jake has possession behind his own net. Jimmy Soper is the utmost forward for the Mayhem. Here comes Tim Keelik racing down his off wing with the puck. He enters the Macon zone, goes wide on Urban. All kinds of speed as he swivels his way into the near corner on the bottom part of your screen. He will slide it into the slot where it's settled by Don Oliveira. Wheels back up into the deep slot. Oliveira dishes it to his right. And the puck is flung to Bo McHugh. It bounced off his stick, and from the outer hash marks of the left circle, he will deposit it behind the net. Frankie Melton rolls one along the far half wall. Zach Urban scrapping away for it. Jarrett Cupp doing the same. Cupp able to work one up to the blue line, but not out of the zone. Bounces back in behind the net again. And racing to the perimeter now is Alec Marsh, who will drop it back off for McHugh. Bo McHugh above the right circle. Down to Marsh in the far corner. Up to the blue line for Don Oliveira. He will switch with McHugh. Feeds him. McHugh with a one-time blast. Broke his stick. And it bounces in behind the net again. Frankie Melton's got it. Time winding down on the PK. Caleb Cameron's been let out of the box. And he scurries back into his own zone to help out the remaining penalty killers who are exhausted. The Mayhem in the meantime improving to 2 for 2 on the J&J's heating and air penalty kill. Frankie Melton drops it back. Tim Keelik's got it in the left circle. He rattles it to the top of the left circle. It's flung wide of the net, through the crease, out to the right point. Don Oliveira's got it. He will put it down into the adjacent corner again. The Mayhem can barely skate. Frankie Melton checked into the boards by Pirog, and that's done it. The Mayhem are officially out of danger, at least for the time being, and can take a breather for a few seconds after killing their second penalty kill of the game. Urban blasted around the boards on the near side. Couldn't get it past Darius Davidson. Second time he succeeds, but can't get it past Victor. Now it's rolled back in behind the goal line and out to the far half wall. It's been all marksmen so far this period. One-time blast from the mid-slot by Davidson is fought off by his former teammate Kevin Atma. Puck's been flown all the way down the ice. It'll bounce off the Warrior dasher board in the far corner. Perez begins pressuring. The marksmen rim it around the boards, but Sean Lynch is there to intercept the clearing attempt. He will punch one down in behind the net. Perez will center it, hoping for Lynch. A scrap ensues at the side of the net, and ultimately the puck's been picked up by Josh Cousineau. 6-year SPHL veteran will drop it to the line for Ryan Devine. Devine gets it down the adjacent half wall, scooping it up. Sean Lynch back to the point for a slap shot by Oliveira, denied by Blake Woitala. Now the puck rattles its way into the near corner of the Fayetteville zone where Danny Perez scraps for it. Puck rolls up the half wall and Perez stays on it. He forces the puck back, getting the puck on his stick. He skates into the slot and fires, and a stick save is made by Woitala. He just picked the pocket clean from Brett Johnson. And finally, no, the marksman still unable to clear. Vector couldn't get it out. Ortiz forces a turnover. He centers. Good pass. Broken up on the doorstep by Josh Victor. And we get a penalty here coming up against Macon again. Bowen slides it right into the middle of the ice, and it's played by Shane Bednard. Bednard will work it down the boards. Max Cook will carry in behind the net. Cook still has it, and finally the Mayhem get a stick on it, but it'll be going right back to the sin bin. The Beyond Taboo Tattoo penalty box doors will be opened, and the Mayhem will go to the penalty kill for the third time tonight. They're 2 for 2 thus far, but this is a very dangerous power play. The Mayhem do not want to put themselves in this position very often, and Marcus Ortiz with his palms uplifted, questioning the decision made by Dan Grimaudo. This Mayhem penalty kill will be brought to you by J&J's Heating and Air Conditioning. We've had 7.5 minutes expire here in this second period. The Mayhem still maintaining their 2-1 advantage, but really playing with fire here as the marksmen go back to their third power play of the game. Perhaps it will be Cameron skating to the penalty box. There's something that happened behind the play. Head contact, I believe, is the call against Macon. Caleb Cameron really pleading his case, but he's going to have a seat. Will be Macon's third go of it on the man disadvantage. They were 2 for 4 last night in Evansville. They are 2 for 2 so far tonight in Macon. Again, it's Marcus Ortiz in the face-off circle. On special teams, he has been the go-to guy on face-offs for Ryan Michael and the Mayhem. Brian Bowen had his pass picked off. Here comes Danny Caesar, who's closed off quickly by the smooth skating Travis Jake. So no breakaway, shorthanded opportunity for Danny Caesar. Here come the marksmen breaking the puck out of their own zone. Illegal check to the head, the call against Macon. Bowen swivels to the right circle and fires. Ricocheted off of a friendly stick and out of play. So that flying puck's been brought to you by Blues Painting and Home Repair. Brian Bowen, I believe, taking that shot over the net from Fayetteville. University of Vermont product, Brian Bowen. Played with former Mayhem centerman Kevin Irwin. Mayhem winning the defensive zone draw. Stephen Pirog getting the job done yet again. The marksman back in possession at center ice. Bo McHugh at center. He's crashed into, but a 2-on-1 develops for Fayetteville. Good pass, and Atma sprawled over to rob the shot coming from Frankie Melton. The 22-year-old unable to get his 4th goal of the season, courtesy of a huge lateral stop made by Kevin Atma. He keeps the Mayhem ahead by a goal. Tim Keelik down his off wing, cuts into the deep slot with it. Tim Keelik will slide it down to Melton in the far corner. Melton spins away from Pirog. From the bottom of the far circle. He slides it up to the blue line for Don Oliveira. Oliveira goes to his left. McHugh slides it to the right circle for a shot that pinballs off the stick of Alec Marsh into the left corner. Pirog fighting for it. He advances it up the boards. Oliveira twists and gets it into the deep slot for Frankie Melton. Crisp puck movement by the Marksmen on this man advantage. This is played in the left circle by Bo McCue. McCue coughs it up to Jimmy Soper. And Soper will slide one through. Pirog, nice pass by Soper, who will go to the net. Pirog's got it, left circle, centers for Soper, scores! They're waving this off. The goal light turns on. Pirog calling for a review, but immediately the referee wiped this out. He is saying no goal. We'll see if there's a discussion that takes place with the goal judge. Last time something like this happened, the referee did not even speak to the goal judge. We'll see this time around. The fans booing here. We do not have the luxury of replay. So unless there's a very clear discussion by the referee and the goal judge, this will stand at 2-1. Looked like a shorthanded goal from Soper, what would have been the first of the season, but it was wiped out by the referee immediately. Play didn't even stop. In the meantime, the Mayhem have returned to full strength as Bowen circles the offensive zone, fires and scores. He sniped one over the shoulder of Kevin Atma. What a turn of momentum that was. The Mayhem improving to 3 for 3 on the PK and then conceding a goal at the other end to Brian Bowen. That's his second goal of the night. He's got both of Fayetteville's tallies. And what's most frustrating about this, folks, is the last, I'd say 45 seconds to a minute, maybe shouldn't have even existed. Stephen Pirog is very upset. He wants Dan Gramato to skate to the goal judge and talk it over with him, and he's right. Anytime there's a situation like that where there could have been a goal and there might not have been a goal, the referee is supposed to talk it over with the goal judge. This is the second straight time in which the referee has neglected to do that. It's the second game in a row at the Macon Centreplex in which that's happened. What is the purpose of the goal judge if the referee doesn't even discuss things with him? And that's my question. I suppose that question would be better directed to the SPHL. So 2-2 is the score. We're halfway through regulation time. And the Marksmen, off the back of Brian Bowen's second goal of the game, have tied things up. Here's a wrist shot from Bednar that's denied by the glove of Kevin Atma. Tumbling over Atma was Darius Davidson, the former Mayhem player. Started the season here. AIC product, kind of came into training camp late and made the team right away. Was actually playing on Macon's first line with Stephen Pirog and Stathis Sumalitis for a while, but about 3 weeks ago he was cut from the team, placed on waivers by the Mayhem, and was signed by the Marksmen just 4 days later. He's been on a nice little streak, scored 2 goals in his last 3 games. A few years ago, folks, there was a situation in which the Boston Bruins were playing the Columbus Blue Jackets. There was a shot that the Bruins took that deflected off the protective netting behind the Columbus goal, out of play. The players all saw that it was out of play, but the referee did not, so play continued. The National Hockey League instituted a rule in which if the referee did not see it, but the puck flew out of play, whatever play continued because of the referee not blowing the whistle is supposed to not exist. It was supposed to not happen. Columbus went on to score a goal a couple minutes later, and the goal stood. And this sort of reminds me of that situation. It's a 2-2 tie here in Macon. Brian Bowen with both of Fayetteville's goals, and they go back to work in the offensive zone. Victor will put it in behind the Macon cage. Loose puck in the front, and they score again. Max Cook. It bounced his way at the bottom of the far circle, and Fayetteville really starting to skate away with the momentum now. Max Cook, the Marksman captain, netting his 4th goal on the season, his 15th point. He has regained Fayetteville's lead, which they've not had since the first period. It's 3-2 Marksman with 9:16 to go here in period 2. No wins the neutral zone draw. The Marksmen take over right off the faceoff. Danny Caesar advances it in below the Fayetteville goal line. Travis Jake. Long bank pass off the far side boards, intercepted by Jarrett Cupp and fired back in. Bounces over the stick of Wojtala. Caesar delivers a hit into the half wall on the near side of the ice. Here comes Frankie Melton with a toe drag and a shot. That sails over the net. Travis Jake went crashing into Kevin Atma. Atma not happy. He pushes Jake away into the end wall. And a few players scrapping right now after that net came off. That net was completely dislodged, folks. It's on its backside right now. And Jimmy Soper looks like wants to have a go with Travis Jake. Not very often do you see Kevin Atma losing his cool. He did not like the amount of contact he received by Jake. .8:46 to go here in the second period. The Marksmen have really seized the momentum of this game. Their captains are all now near the near side boards. Max Cook and Taylor McCloy, Travis Jake. Jake is over there because he's going to have a seat. He and Jimmy Soper got into that little scrap after the contact with Kevin Atma. It looked to me like Jake went crashing into the goal with, I believe it was Soper. There was a Macon player who was with Jake when the net came off and when Kevin Atma was collided into. That's why I'm not sure there was any malicious intent at all on Jake's part, but you are supposed to make every possible effort to avoid contact with opposing goaltenders. Whether he did that is up for question. Didn't really see it until the very last second, but it looked like Soper and Jake just sort of both crashed into him. So we'll go back to the 4-on-4. The last time we had a 4-on-4, the Mayhem scored. Danny Perez with the goal. That was the last time the Mayhem scored. It was in the 17th minute of period 1. 8:46 to go in period 2. Fayetteville with goals this period from Brian Bowen and Max Cook, both on our watch list for tonight. Cook had 4 assists in 2 games last week. With a defensive zone face-off win. Loose puck slides to Oliveira, who blasts it from above the right circle and scores. Don Oliveira with a bullet from the Ortho Georgia Ice logo near the right point. Just fired it through a lot of traffic, and Kevin Atma, I'm not sure, ever saw it. Fayetteville getting its first insurance lead of the night. It's 4-2 Marksmen. The no goal call from that short-handed opportunity in which Steven Pirog set up Jimmy Soper. Pirog looked like he thought it was in the net. Soper did not. It looked to me like it was in the net, folks. It might not have been. The referee very emphatically giving the washout signal, but that was what changed the momentum of this game. As Don Oliveira will skate into the left circle and drop it back to Lesage, who fires it just wide of the left post. But ever since that goal was washed out, it's been all Marksmen. They've scored 3 times in the past few minutes. Here's Marsh swiveling down the left wing, drops it into the slot for a one-timer by Lesage that's kicked away by Kevin Atma. Marsh slides it to the left point for Don Oliveira. Shifts his way into the high slot. Oliveira scoring the most recent goal for Fayetteville. Coughs it up to Danny Perez. We'll just shovel it along the end wall. It's checked hard by Oliveira. Puck's been rimmed up to Cameron. We'll step back into his own zone and begin to pick up speed as he crosses in through the center red line. Cameron now in across the Fayetteville blue line. Goes wide. And he is able to scoot by Oscar Arfelt, but concedes possession into the near circle where it's brought out of harm's way by Alec Marsh for the Marksmen. He loses it to Larry Smith. Smith gets it back from Campbell. And we'll begin out to center ice His pass just outside of the reach of Caleb Cameron. 7:08 to go in the second. 4-2 your score in favor of Fayetteville, having just scored a 4-on-4 goal. Darian Hamilton across the blue line had his shot blocked. Larry Smith tried to spirit one ahead. Couldn't advance it to Timofeyev. The loose puck wobbles down the left boards, and it'll be scooped up by Oscar Arfelt. Arfelt is able to spin away from Timofeyev nicely and maintain possession of the puck all the while. He feeds it to the left side for Cook. Max Cook dips the shoulder. Leave it for Nicholas Sage, fresh off a line change. He carries it all the way in behind the Macon cage. Sage is pinned up against the end wall by Stepan Timofeyev as 6 players fight away for it. Skitters past Zach Urban. Lesage is back on it. He carries it around and drops it off to the right circle, and whiffing on that was Brian Bowen. Puck slides back into Marksman territory. It'll be scooped up by Oscar Arfelt, who got rid of it just in time. The loose puck picked up by that's Josh Victor, who will feed one ahead for Frankie Melton. He twists it back towards the left point. It'll be scooped up by Mccoy, who shot his gloves by Kevin Atma all the way, seeing that shot through that screen. 5:52 to go here in the second period. 4-2 the score in favor of Fayetteville. Huge momentum surge for the Marksmen, who coming into this period trailed by a goal. They now lead by 2. Less than 2 minutes, they scored 3 times. Brian Bowen, Max Cook, Don Oliveira, all finding the back of the net. Here's Darian Hamilton from the left point. We'll scale it down the left boards, and it pops back out to the near corner. Ryan Devine fights for it. Devine is able to wedge it up to Ortiz. Ortiz slips it out of the defensive zone, and here comes Lindstrom. He will curl it back to Oliveira, who was caught up to, and puck bounces back out into the neutral zone. Frankie Melton is offside, and there's a hand pass as well, so the whistle blows. 5:26 to go in the second period. 4-2 Fayetteville, your score. Alex D'Oliveira making his Mayhem debut this evening, described by Ryan Michael as a solid defenseman who plays well in his own zone and thrives in a simple game kind of situation. Was on a nice little roll with the Quad City Storm before he was released. He led the team with a +3 rating and had 3 assists in his last 3 games with the Storm. Rare time in which Pirog was bested cleanly in the face-off circle tonight. This time it was by Shane Bednard. Marsh gave it away to Ryan Devine. D'Oliveira for Pirog. Pirog jumps onto his horse and will gallop in across the blue line. The return pass finds Pirog. He had his stick lifted and it bounces into the far circle. It's scooped up by Fayetteville's Darius Davidson, who will march down the right wing. He's got a man crashing the net in Josh Victor, but just shot it and Atma sticked it away. Flew out of play, and we're going to head to our final media timeout of the third period, or second period rather, but not before a fight breaks out on the near corner. And Stephen Pirog had a good handle on Shane Bednard, threw a few rights it looked like, and that's going to be a valuable omission for the Mayhem, as their captain is going to have a seat. He's not gone to the sin bin too often this season. Very seldom do you see Stephen Pirog drop the gloves. Not at all this season, but he knows that his team needs a spark. And the captain trying to lead by example with that fight against Shane Bednard. Both parties have gone down the tunnels back to their respective dressing rooms. And we're going to head to our third and final media timeout of this second period. 4-2 Fayetteville the score, and we'll see how the Mayhem respond to Stephen Pirog's first fight of the season when we come back. We're going to take a brief timeout on the Mayhem Broadcast Network. Be back in just a moment, folks. Keep it right here.
The beloved Family 4-Pack is back. The Mayhem are offering this incredibly affordable package for several games throughout the season. For just $50, you receive 4 tickets and a $30 gift card to Texas Roadhouse at 5080 Riverside Drive right here in Macon. The dates for these 4-pack nights will be announced on social media as they become finalized, so be sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube for all the most up-to-date content.
Speaking of family four-packs, folks, we're going to have our next one next Friday, so 6 days from now, when the Mayhem host the Quad City Storm for the first time this season on Friday, December the 13th. It's also the Grinch night here at the Macon Centreplex. The family four-pack includes 4 tickets and a $30 gift card at Texas Roadhouse. If you'd like to purchase one for next Friday or any of the family four-pack dates throughout the season, call our office at 478-803-1592, or just visit our website at maconmayhem.com. Under the Tickets tab, you'll find a link through which you can purchase the family four-pack on our website. The puck bounces into the near circle of the Macon zone, and Danny Caesar will dip the shoulder and then elude a few marksmen skillfully, and will pop one up the right side for Jimmy Soper, who was well defended there by Nicholas Age. Caesar's pass bounces off of Soper. Bowen will spear it one the other way. It bounces and lands near Brett Johnson on the right side. He will deliver one around the end wall, and Danny Caesar picks it up in his own corner on the near side. He will bank it off the end wall right to Ben Campbell. Campbell attempts to return a long pass out to Caesar, picked off after it was read nicely by Tim Keelik. Keelik slides one back to Oliveira, who shoots, and he missed the net. Glorious opportunity for Don Oliveira to get his second goal of the game. Would have been his second of the period. Now here's Tim Keelik. Slips by Cousineau. Doesn't slip by Soper. Hard to do that. Ortiz receives the puck out at center. He's joined by Soper. Soper gets it from Caesar and from Ortiz rather, and he fires and missed the right post. Now it's Oliveira. Oliveira throws a long pass right up the gut. Alec Marsh has it. He will pass one up to Keelik, who storms in across the blue line and shovels a backhander over the crossbar. Bounces its way to the near half wall, and tumbling down is Bo McHugh after getting rid of the puck. It's been redirected by the stick of Anton Lindstrom into the offensive zone. 3:20 to go here in the second period. Lindstrom attempted a pass that was picked off, and here comes Fayetteville's Alec Marsh down the right side. Excellent move, but he loses an edge. Goes crashing into the end wall. The Mayhem will be going to the penalty box again. Jarrett Cupp will be the guilty party. Dangerous looking hit, but they're saying Jarrett Cupp tripped him into the end wall. Cupp not happy with that. It sort of looked to me like he just lost his balance, but Cupp's going to have a seat. It did look ugly, folks. But I don't know how much Cupp really did to cause Marsh to lose his balance. Cupp obviously doesn't agree with it, but he's going to have a seat. He's not gone to the sin bin too often this season. This is just his third time going to the box. Lowest on the team among everybody who started the season with the Mayhem, with just now 6 PIMs on the season, or coming into this game had just 4. So the Mayhem back to the box, back to the PK for the 4th time tonight. They're 3 for 3 thus far. The penalty kills looked very strong, but it's probably gone to the box a few more times than they would like to here in this second period. As Caleb Cameron's pass is outside of the reach of Jimmy Soper. Now Brian Bowen will take over. He's got 2 of Fayetteville's 4 goals. Checked hard into the end wall by Soper. Now Jake will feather one up the left wing for Max Cook, who slips by Cameron, steps into the slot. Cook pulls up and fires. Chest save Atma. Loose puck skitters its way in behind the net, and Jimmy Soper will clear it all the way down. Out of his net to play it is goaltender Blake Woitala, who will just leave it for Travis Jake. 3rd highest scoring defenseman in the SPHL this season, the reigning SPHL Defenseman of the Year. One of just 2 marksmen who was with the team before the Jesse Kalecki era began at the onset of last season. Ryan Devine has just cleared it past his own blue line. Oliveira backpedaling and gets the return pass in his own zone. Oliveira slips it right up the middle. Tim Keelik puts it in across the blue line and gets it back quickly, but a turning clear is made by Cousineau to kill off some more time. This Mayhem penalty kill is brought to you by J&J's Heating and Air Conditioning. There are 50 seconds remaining on the tripping call made against Jarrett Cupp. Oliveira behind his own goal line, steps out with it, feeds it up the left wing, and here's Bo McHugh. McHugh turns it right to Frankie Melton. 2 of them switch places as Melton carries it near the far half wall. He blows a tire and the puck squirts its way up to the point on the far side. It's salvaged and flung to Oliveira at the blue line. He will give it to Keelik above the right circle. Keelik goes to the goal line with it. It's Oscar Arfelt. Rather, Frankie Melton. Keelik. Keelik from above the right circle had his shot redirected off of a partition. And Ben Campbell over skates at a tad. Keelik from the far corner with his head up. 2 seconds and 1. The Mayhem have improved to 4 for 4 on the night. Frankie Melton, Oliveira, one-timer, missed the net. And a fight breaks out near the far half wall, but two linesmen quickly jump in to separate Tim Keelik and Marcus Ortiz. Ortiz didn't really look like he wanted to fight. He wasn't really doing anything. Just kind of standing there. Keelik had a good hand on him. Ortiz still not really doing anything. He's just skating away. Perhaps he tried to lure Keelik into a fight. Perhaps it was the other way around. Tough to tell. But Ortiz will just circle back and skate down the Mayhem tunnel. His second period has come to an end. The Mayhem still trailing the Marksmen by a 4-2 margin. There's always the potential for a high penalty minute game when these two teams get together. In fact, the most combined penalty minutes in a single game in franchise history for both sides came back on December 16th of 2017, just shy of 2 years ago, in a 9-0 Macon win in Fayetteville, or rather against Fayetteville, again on December 16th of 2017. There were a total of 116 penalty minutes from both sides. On Macon's side, there were 56. So it's another penalty kill for Macon. So Tim Keelik got away with whatever just happened. Ortiz did not. Fayetteville back to the man advantage for the 5th time tonight, 4th time in this period. Travis Jake at center. Now in his own zone as he's forced back behind his own goal line by Jimmy Soper. He slides it over to Taylor Mccoy. Turns up ice with it and begins to accelerate across the Macon blue line. Mccoy tries to cut through a pair of Mayhem defenders. He eventually did, but he lost it in behind the net. And now it's Ryan Devine who has it on his stick and wobbles one down the ice. It's going to land in the high Fayetteville slot. Travis Jake able to outrace Soper to it. 20 seconds in period 2. Ryan Devine pursuing a sliding puck in his own zone. He curls behind his own net with his head up. Steps by one. His pass for Kuzno was easily picked off by Jake. And here come the Marksmen on one last chance. Max Cook slips one through, sticked away by Atma. And that's done it for the second. The second period to forget for the Mayhem. They were outscored 3-0 in the middle 20 minutes. They believed they scored a shorthanded goal. Stephen Pirog certainly did. He centered a pass for Jimmy Soper at the end of a Macon penalty kill, and Soper sort of either had one hand on his stick or just sort of backhanded it. Looked like an awkward kind of shot, but it was tough to tell. From my vantage point, it looked like the puck was in and out very quickly, but we'll never be 100% certain. We don't have the luxury of replay in this league, but Stephen Pirog seemed to be convinced that it was a goal. Jimmy Soper, on the other hand, did not. He sort of turned back and skated. So that's what sort of tells me that it probably wasn't a goal. If it had been, there would have been more players on Macon's side that were lobbying for, at the very least, a discussion with the goal judge. No, I did not see the goal light turn on. But the fact that the majority of this building thought that it was in and Stephen Pirog thought that it was in, and the referee was nowhere near the play. He was basically at the red line. He was 100 feet away. He couldn't have possibly known one way or the other. So at the very least, in my opinion, he should have blown the whistle and talked it over with the goal judge. And that's what the goal judges are there for. But Gramado just kept his whistle in his pocket, let play continue. The Mayhem killed off the rest of the penalty, but shortly after that, Brian Bowen scored the equalizer. And that just created all sorts of momentum for Fayetteville, who scored 3 goals in less than 2 minutes. Brian Bowen's at 9:45. Max Cook's 59 seconds later. And then Don Oliveira's 38 seconds after that with a slap shot from above the right circle. So it was a tough second period for the Mayhem. They were heavily outshot, 11-4 is what's showing here on point streak. The Mayhem are going to have to come out with a fantastic effort in the third period if they want to skate away with this one from any points. Skate away from this one with any points, I should say. The Mayhem right now on a 4-game pointless skid. They have dropped 4 in a row, starting with Evansville on November the 23rd, and then Pensacola on Thanksgiving Eve, followed by a Saturday night clash on home ice against the Flyers, which they led going into the third period, or I beg your pardon, they led at 2 different points. Then the Flyers tied things in the second period. 2-2 was the score heading into the third, and that's what happened last Saturday. Eddie Matsushima rather, scored what would end up being the game-winning goal very early into period 3. And then, of course, last night's 10-3 blowout loss at the hands of the Evansville Thunderbolts. So it's been a rough little stretch here for the Mayhem. They're hoping to nip it in the bud tonight and to use this game to sort of move on from what happened yesterday. And they got off to the start they wanted. The Mayhem led heading into the first intermission. And again, when leading heading into the first intermission this season, the Mayhem 2-0-0. However, now they're trailing by a pair. When trailing after 2 this season, the Mayhem are 0-7-0. So either way, one perfect streak has to be broken tonight. The Mayhem hoping that it ends up being the second one. So again, 4-2 is your score. A 1 minute and, we'll do a little math here, 23-second surge. That's all it, well, no, my math is off, as usual. Bear with me just for a second. 1 minute and 37-second surge, in which Fayetteville scored 3 times. Goals were scored by Brian Bowen, Max Cook, and Don Oliveira. Bowen connecting with the top right corner of the net just 24 seconds after the check to the head by Caleb Cameron penalty had expired. So an even strength goal scored by Bowen, and then Max Cook just 59 seconds after that scored following a centering pass by Brett Johnson, Josh Victor, both of whom are making their marksman debut this evening. They both got into the point column with assists on Cook's goal. And then Don Oliveira on the 4-on-4, assisted by Bo McCue with a slap shot from above the right circle through a screen that Atma, I don't believe, ever saw, found the back of the net, and gave the marksman a 4-2 lead. Take a peek around the SPHL for Hampton and Sweets out-of-town scoreboard update while we've got a second, and then we'll head to our second intermission break here as Roanoke has extended its lead. They lead 3-0 over the Knoxville Ice Bears. Pensacola hosting the Huntsville Havoc pretty late into period 1. It's a tie game down at the hangar. Evansville, Birmingham tied at a goal apiece at the Ford Center in southwest Indiana tonight. And finally, the Peoria Rivermen hosting their Illinois rivals, the Quad City Storm. No score through the first 4 minutes of play up at Carver Arena. That wraps up your second out-of-town scoreboard update of the night, brought to you by Hampton Inn and Suites. We're going to head to our second intermission, folks, and take a pause on the Mayhem Broadcast Network. We hope you're enjoying the broadcast throughout this tilt. We're 2/3 of the way through this game. Fayetteville holds a 4-2 lead over the Macon Mayhem. We'll be back before you know it. Keep right here, folks. You're listening to Macon Mayhem Hockey on the Mayhem Broadcast Network.
Creekside Mornings, Tony Doolin, Charles Davis. That is Great Peacock Heartbreak coming down. It is Monday, which means we have our weekly segment with Alex Von Koidel.
Do we have to do
of the
this?
Macon Mayhem. We are required by
law
to play this intro.
Wow,
Here we
go.
go.
Alex Von Koidel, the voice. From Alex Von Koidel, the voice. From Alex Von Koidel, the voice. Voice. Alex Von Koidel.
By the way, Alex plays that during intimate love moments.
No, I wouldn't say that.
He does. He
I
plays
wouldn't say that. I would leave that alone. Just,
Yeah, just don't even answer that, Alex. Just let it
Comes
be.
out of the bathroom
And just
wearing
let
nothing
it-
but a
just let-
silk
just
bathrobe.
Let it go.
I got some
Alex.
fresh cologne on and
Just-
fires that
is it
up.
Draco Noir? Is that who you rock for? Or good cool water?
Here I am.
What is that?
Voice.
Is it velvet like a Hugh Hefner robe?
Very uncomfortable for
I'm
all
sorry,
parties
I'm
involved.
sorry, Alex. I didn't
Why
mean
would you
to-
paint that picture for
Well, he did that.
Well, that's what we do. Theater of the mind, Alex.
Yeah.
Charles, you're always full of the best advice.
I tried, Alex. I tried.
Morning, Alex. How are you?
I'm kind of weirded out.
As you should be.
Did you have a good Thanksgiving?
Yeah, I did. My mom and brother made it in from Chicago.
Oh, good.
It was great seeing them, catching up with them. My brother's actually still here till tomorrow, so yeah, after work today, we're going to try to hang out one last time before he has to go back home.
The Von Coitels
I'm
brothers.
gonna jump over to Jared Cup. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
How are you?
we? Good. I'm doing well.
I want to ask a Thanksgiving-related question because Macon locally doesn't produce a lot of local hockey players. All you guys are from out of town. What do you do on the holidays? Where are you from? First of all.
Well, I grew up 2 hours north of Toronto in a small town.
Okay, so
called-
you're Canadian. You don't celebrate
Yeah.
Thanksgiving.
Well, in October, but
Yeah,
Is it October?
it's a different
but you know,
thing.
whatever.
But it's got to be tough being away from family during holidays and things like that. Christmas
yeah,
is coming up.
Definitely during Christmas, but like Thanksgiving and stuff. I was never a big Thanksgiving or Easter. I know Easter is pretty big down here, but other than Christmas back home, I think that's the main holiday for us.
You guys had a game Wednesday night, which always makes for an interesting Thursday.
Yeah.
A Wednesday night game. Give us the recap on what happened there, Alex.
Yeah, well, last year in that building down in Pensacola, we played there 4 times and didn't win any of them. So that's a really tough barn to play in. They're undefeated at home this season, and we scored more goals in 1 game this year than we did in 4 games last year there. So that's the good news. Unfortunately, they came out with a really good effort in the third period. And they kind of skated away with I think it was 5-3. They got an empty netter at the end there, but
I was going to say empty netters Wednesday and Saturday.
yeah,
Kind of made the score a little more lopsided than it would have been.
absolutely, yeah. It made the score look more daunting than it really was.
Yeah,
I think, yeah. But both games were a great effort by our team. And Saturday night we had a lead twice, and they just, they did the same thing we did on Wednesday. They just kept fighting back, and they tied the game several times, and just ended up pulling ahead, I think, early in the third period on Saturday night. And
But a lot of really good shots on goal. It just seemed like they were missed it by that much.
both their goalies were NHL draft picks.
Wow. Okay. All right, that makes sense.
They've had really good goaltending this season, and they just don't. They never give up a lot of goals. Last year it was the same story. It's hard to score against them and get good opportunities.
And again, came down to the same situation Saturday night where we were trying to tie the game up there in the last little bit, pulled the goalie out, 6-on-5, ended up with an empty netter, which made, again, the score look a little more lopsided than it probably should have been.
Yeah, exactly. And those empty net situations, like, Leo talked about it a little bit when he was here, and I've asked, Coach Michael about it as well, and they both kind of told me the same thing. It's hard to squeeze those into practice when you're on the 6-on-5. Like, those situations happen so often now, and in practices, it's just, there's so many other things you need to work on that there's not always time to practice the 6-on-5.
Very true.
All right, so tell us about this week's games. We have an away game and a home game.
It's going to be a tough one. We're in Evansville on Friday night.
A lot of
which
travel,
is-
man.
Yeah, if you guys aren't familiar with where that is, that's southern Indiana. That's the Midwest. So it's a long trip. I'd say, cover probably 11, 12 hours up there?
Wow.
It's like 8.
That's it?
I don't know.
Okay. I thought Peoria was 14.
He sleeps for 3 hours of the trip. It's an 11-hour trip.
Yeah,
He's only awake for 8 of it, though.
Yeah, exactly.
It wouldn't be that many. There's no way.
But that's a lot of travel for a Friday,
So-
Saturday.
And then, we come back and then host Fayetteville, who's been really good this year. They've gotten off to a great start. We host them Saturday night. It's our teacher appreciation night. $10 entry for teachers. to the
Look at
game,
that.
So.
Now, how do you vet that at the box office? Do they have to show like teacher ID, or how does that work?
There are, I think it's like a county ID or,
All right.
I think
Okay.
that's how it is.
Show up at the box office with a nervous tick. Oh, you teach elementary school.
Yes.
$10 ticket.
Yeah, just let
That's the
them-
way that works.
Some of them kindergarten teachers just let them in free.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's, by the way, is not the case. I don't want to
Okay.
throw that out there,
Okay.
Charles.
I'm just saying.
Jared, you've been on the show before. Welcome back.
It's good to be back.
It's good to see you. Tell us about what you do for the team. What is your position?
So I play defense. I guess one of my roles, I'm a second-year guy. We only have a few more second-year guys on the back end, so it's just myself, Zach Urban, who's not here with us right now, and Larry Smith. So with Zach gone, Larry and I are looking to step up as leaders. So that's kind of a role that him and I are learning together and trying to be, get better at each and every day. So that's one of the roles that I think I exemplify, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I'll give you that.
Mm-hmm.
I'll give you that.
Take that
But
answer.
You said something very interesting. One of the only very few second-year members of the Mayhem, because we have had a lot of turnover in the team.
Yeah, especially defensively though. We're so banged up back there. Like Rennie Hunter's situation going back home to Manitoba, and then Zach Urban, like Cupper just said, going up to the ECHL, and Nick Minerva, who's also a second-year defenseman, he went up to Wheeling earlier this season. So we've lost a lot of defensemen, and Jarrett's done a great job stepping up as one of the leaders back there, and he's been on a nice little point streak here as well. I think he's got a point in 6 straight. So he's been on a roll. And,
there we go.
Yeah, and him and Larry, those guys are both really stepping up as leaders, and they've had to, being the only 2 second-year guys left on the blue line. And then, Ryan Devine, also a veteran. He's just had he's had a couple suspensions here in the past few games, so we've been really shorthanded back there.
Jared, I want to ask a couple of personal questions. One that we have not been addressing this year: favorite hockey movie of all time, Miracle, Goon, or Slapshot?
I'll have to go with Slapshot for that one.
I think this list is flawed, and I will go ahead and make my stance here. Once again, my protest here. I believe Mighty Duck should be on this list, but whatever.
Okay, but you're wrong, though. You're wrong, Charles. Slapshot was not the correct answer, by the way. It was Goon. But thank you for playing.
Has anyone said Goon yet?
No.
Nope.
No, I'm still holding out
Which
hope.
it should be pulled off the list.
It's everybody's second favorite, I feel like, including mine.
You're probably right.
Yeah.
I'm an odd bird, though. I'm going to say it's still the correct answer. Second question, Jared. Being in hockey and having the last name Cup, did that lead to some jokes when you were young, some nicknames? I'm just asking. Did I bring up some bad memories?
You might have just triggered the man, and why would you do that?
Did you often get told,
never...
you're very athletic, Cup?
Oh,
Did that happen?
Wow. I mean, yeah,
I've been working on this since last year, by the way. I've been waiting on this.
Even my dad calls me Cup. He doesn't use my first name.
Yeah.
So, it's not just my hockey buddies that call me Cup or Cupper. My dad calls me it. My mom's always on his case saying, he's got a first name, But I was never made fun of for the name. Although there was a point in time where I think my mom wanted to name me Stanley Cup, which would have just knocked.
Oh, well, that would have been.
That's the most Canadian name I've ever heard.
And I was going to say, you're up in Canada.
I so hope your mom listens to this show, because I want to give a shout out to Mama Cup.
Mama Cup.
Is brilliant.
But I bet just Canadians are just much nicer, so you didn't get had you been down here in Atlanta or South Georgia, you'd have heard some things.
Yeah, you'd have heard some things.
Oh, I'm thinking about it now, and it's.
Well, does anybody know what the Stanley Cup is down here?
Well, we do, but
Three
it's only because of TV.
Three people who were listening got that joke.
The one Atlanta hockey team we had here for a while just did.
No, it was bad.
Little brothers.
It was bad. Yeah.
It's getting better. It's getting better, Jared. It's getting better.
Do you have little brothers named Calder and Kelly?
Yeah, right.
Presidents.
Yeah.
Wow.
Solo.
So,
see, this is the most I've got made fun of for my last name, I think, now.
Welcome to the show.
Give us a little bit of time, Cup. We can come up with more.
Which leads us to the question, because you brought a couple of other players here. Perez has never been on the show, and he said he wanted to do this next week. You still want to do this?
I can take it or leave it either way.
All right, so one away game this week and a home game Saturday night, 7 o'clock puck drop, teacher appreciation night, $10 tickets for teachers. Alex, good to see you.
Good to see you, too.
Jared, thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having
Thanks,
me.
Cup.
By the way, we do want to point out no line change show
That's right.
tomorrow night downstairs because of the pandemonium of Capricorn Revival. It's going to be crazy, and you guys need a week off, and you've got family in town. So
Yeah, so I guess it works out.
works out well.
Everything does. Now,
Works out well.
Now, Cup, if you didn't know, we have to play this intro one more time.
Yeah, he makes us play this twice.
On the way out.
Uncoido the voice.
It's actually 3 times now.
Voice.
Wow.
Uncoido the
The
voice.
trifecta today, the hat trick. Yeah, see, big words.
He also
All right, welcome back, everybody. Hope you enjoyed that exclusive Creek interview with Tony Doolin, Charles Davis, and player guest Jarrett Cup. That was aired this past Monday morning. on 100.9 The Creek FM, our official radio promotional partner of the Macon Mayhem. Always have a fun time bringing a player guest on that show. They make it fun and interesting, as I'm sure you heard. If it's your first time tuning into it, by all means, tune in every Monday morning. I go there every Monday at 8:30 p.m. or 8:30 a.m. I'm sorry. And like I said, I'll always bring a player with me. If for whatever reason I can't bring a player, then I'll just bring any guest I can. But I'll always bring somebody. Most times it's a player. There've only been a handful of times in which I couldn't get a player because of travel or injuries or just kind of a last-second situation. So this Monday, I haven't decided yet. I think I have an idea of who I'm going to bring, but I don't want to say it. A, because I don't want to spoil it, and B, because it might not happen. So just stay tuned. If you're able to, turn on the radio, crank your dial to 100.9 FM. You'll hear from myself, Tony Doolin, the host, and Charles Davis from the Creek, and one of our players every Monday morning on 100.9 FM at 8:30 a.m. 4-2 the score in favor of Fayetteville. They really took control of this game during the second period, particularly in the middle stages of it. Within a 1 minute and 37-second span, they scored 3 times. Brian Bowen, Max Cook, Don Oliveira, all SPHL veterans of several years, all lighting the lamp once. Mayhem will be on the penalty kill for 1 minute and 5 seconds because of a penalty called against Marcus Ortiz at the end of the second period. He was given a roughing penalty. He got into it with, I believe it was Tim Keelick. And it didn't really look like Ortiz wanted to, at least when I looked over, but he was the one who was sent to the Beyond Taboo Tattoo penalty box. And Keelick sort of got off the hook, so the Mayhem on the penalty kill for the 5th time tonight. Fayetteville's only been there twice, at least in terms of power play situations. There have been a couple of 4-on-4s. Pirog will be in the box for that fight. And towards the end of the period, Pirog dropped the gloves to Shane Bednard along the near half wall and in the Mayhem zone. The captain really trying to lead by example. He does not get into fights often. This is the first time all season that he had dropped the gloves, but he knew that his team needed a spark, and we'll see if the Mayhem can respond here at the onset of period 3. So the fight took place 15:01 in the second period. So after the first whistle, Pirog will be let out of the box, as will Bednard for the Marksmen. The Marksmen winning the first faceoff of period 3. Quick turnover. Caesar from the slot nearly caught Blake Woitala napping, and he nearly took advantage of some lackadaisical puck handling in the defensive zone for the Marksmen. My goodness, that could have gone down in the fastest goal from the start of a period in Mayhem franchise history. Caesar had a really grade A scoring chance, probably 4 or 5 seconds in. Cameron racing into the neutral zone. He gets to it first and will drive. He is hauled down. This will be a penalty. Will it be a penalty shot is the question. Looks like it'll just be a hold called against the Marksmen, so the Mayhem will go to the power play. Caleb Cameron with a good burst of speed was able to get to that puck before Brian Bowen could in the neutral zone, and Bowen on the back check hauled him down. A holding penalty called against number 12 in white. He's got a pair of goals for the Marksmen this evening. Caleb Cameron drawing the penalty and giving the Mayhem a power play. For the first time since the first period. Though they'll be on the 4-on-4 for the first 30 seconds here, as Marcus Ortiz is still standing in the Beyond Taboo Tattoo penalty box. Here's Soper with a backhand shot from the bottom of the far circle. That's kicked away by Blake Woitala. Puck's been rattled back to the line. Larry Smith with a keep, but it was whacked off his stick down by Oliveira into the Macon zone. This will be an icing called against Oliveira and the Marksman here. We get a whistle and a stoppage in play. That icing call has been brought to you by Tropical Smoothie Cafe. It's an unfortunate icing called against the Marksman because had that happened just 8 seconds later, it would not have been an icing. But because we're still on the 4-on-4, we're still technically at even strength. Meantime, the Mayhem have improved to 5 for 5 on the J&J's Heat and Air penalty kill. Macon sending 4 players out to take the offensive zone faceoff. Caesar lines up in the deep slot with Kuzno taking the draw and Lindstrom on his right. Jarrett Cupp, the lone defenseman out there, manning the left point position. Kuzno wins it right back to him. Cupp, Caesar, long snapshot off the glove of Voitala. Bounces into the near corner. It's one-handed back towards Cupp. Went off of an opposing stick. Out of the box now is Ortiz, who goes to the front of the net. Caesar rips it, scores! Danny Caesar from the right circle. A power play goal. The Mayhem are back to within 1. That's Danny Caesar's second goal of the night. And it's another power play goal for Macon, which is officially red hot at this point, folks. A well-timed wrist shot by Danny Caesar. Waited for the lane to open. Got the shot through the traffic, and a screened Blake Voitala couldn't make the save. The Mayhem are now back to within a goal. A power play strike. They're 2 for 3 on the night on the man advantage. They went 2 for 5 yesterday. Jimmy Soper wins the battle in the far corner and will send it back to the line. Zach Urban tries to twist it at the net. It's blocked by Shane Bednard, and now puck's whacked up the wall on the far side by Alec Marsh. Pirog enters the zone, gets it to Soper on his off wing. He concedes possession to Travis Jake, who will just loft one about 75 feet in the air, and it will land in the right corner. And now it's rattled around the end wall by Jarrett Cupp. It's going to be scooped up by Pirog in front of the Macon bench. He will attempt to pass it to himself, and it looks like it might have gone off a player on the Fayetteville bench, so we get a whistle and a stoppage in play. 1 minute and 55 seconds into this third period of play. The Mayhem already back to within a goal. A huge strike scored by Danny Caesar, who's been red hot. Had a couple of primary assists last night and has got 2 goals tonight. 11 points on the campaign. 4 goals, 7 assists for number 20 in the Navy sweaters. He's not wearing his customary number 22 tonight due to a issue in getting the jerseys back following the jersey off our back. And now Anton Lindstrom from the far corner. Couldn't keep possession down there. Ryan Devine in his own zone. Fakes to go away from Bowen, then enters the blue line skillfully. Above the left circle, he spins it down into the adjacent corner. Never reached the intended target as Max Cook was there hugging the wall. Now Brian Bowen will float one along. Left side, wrist shot that whistles just wide of the net. That was Taylor McCoy taking the shot. The puck flutters up in the air. Oliveira will get it down to McCoy in the corner on the near side. We get a whistle for a hand pass against the Marksmen. That was Brett Johnson, I beg your pardon, taking that last wrist shot there. 17-19 to go in the third period. It's a 4-3 Fayetteville lead. The neutral zone face-off near the Beyond Taboo Tattoo penalty box taking place. And a clean win on the draw by Josh Cousineau. Ben Campbell had it between his skates. Couldn't locate it. It's recovered by Fayetteville and flung D-to-D for Darian Hamilton. His shot gets blocked and settled by Melton, who twists it towards the net, blocked by the stick of Campbell. Will whack it up the near half wall, and it's collected by Lynch. His pass intercepted at center and hoisted back in by Frankie Melton, the ex-Shreveport Mudbug in the North American Hockey League. Larry Smith coughs it up to Melton. Melton gives it away to Cousineau. The other number 7 has just cleared it all the way down. Will this be an icing call? Yes, it will. Caesar thought he might have had the edge, but he was probably just half a stride behind. 16:42 to go here in the third period. 4-3 Fayetteville, your score. 3 of the Marksmen's 4 goals in this game came within a minute and the 37-second span, right in the middling stages of this tilt. There will be a face-off in the Macon zone to the right of Kevin Atma. That's won cleanly by Josh Cousineau and played around the boards by Larry Smith. Out to the near side for Sean Lynch. He will just pop one into the left corner and go chase it. In the meantime, his line mates are in the midst of a line change here. And it's going to be brought forth by Josh Victor, who will take it into the right corner. Josh Victor fighting against Jarrett Cup for possession. It's backhanded up the near wall for Lynch, who takes a check by Bo McCue. The puck skitters over the stick of Zach Urban. Here's a wrist shot that's blocked by Cup and out of play. It was Marsh coming fresh off of a Fayetteville line change, had his shot blocked by a Macon stick and out of play. That flying puck's been brought to you by Blues Painting and Home Repair. 16:04 to go in the third period, 4-3 Fayetteville. Pirog against Max Cook. Two of them have played a pretty similar game this season. Both centers, both captains, both veterans, both leading their team in assists. Jimmy Soper chisels one by Oliveira, who holds him up. Looked like a clean-cut case of interference, and Oliveira gets away with it. It's been sent back towards Cup. It bounces off a stick, lands on his tape, and he got it down to Ortiz. Ortiz flung one in between the hash marks and the circles. Nobody was there except for a horde of marksmen who have gotten it out into the Mayhem zone. Bounces off the right corner glass, and Cup will slide one back to Zach Urban. Urban's got his head up as he will begin to motor out into the neutral zone with it. Ricochets it in across the Fayetteville blue line. Quick pass finds Taylor McCoy, who drives in, defended by Devine, who got his stick in the way nicely at the last moment to break up that scoring chance. Ortiz up to Soper. Jimmy Soper slides one ahead. Here's Stephen Pirog right up the gut. He will dish it off to Ryan Devine on his right. Devine carries in behind the net. He has it on his backhand and will twist it up the wall for Ortiz. His shot gets blocked. Here comes Taylor McCoy. He's got Melton. McCoy delays. Tries to slide one over, and a good defensive play is made by Alex de Oliveira, who's making his Mayhem debut tonight. Had a tough situation on his hands there. He made the most of it defensively. De Oliveira's got it now. De Oliveira, I beg your pardon. There's an Oliveira on Fayetteville and a De Oliveira on Macon. Sort of a broadcaster's nightmare. Here comes Stepan Timofeyev. He'll chip one off the glass and then go in after it against Travis Jake. He hits Jake into the end wall. Good step by Ben Campbell. Retrieves the puck from the corner and centers, hoping for Timofeyev. It bounced over his stick. Now Smith twists it towards the front of the net. Gets blocked and slides back out to neutral territory. And a good back check is made there by Ben Campbell to nullify the scoring chance. Much better effort defensively today from the Mayhem and getting back, and they're hungrier on pucks in the defensive zone and the neutral zone, and they're hungrier away from the puck tonight. Stepan Timofeyev will slide one the width of the ice. Karam's off the boards in front of the bench, and Cameron will just float one into the right corner and go to the Macon bench for a line change. Fayetteville resets in their own zone. Here's Caesar. Got a pair of goals tonight. Enters the zone and sets up Lindstrom, whose shot is gloved in the crease by Blake Woitola, and he will take a whistle and a stoppage in play. 13:43 to go in the third. 4-3 Fayetteville is your score. The Mayhem have cut the deficit to 1 with a goal by Danny Caesar on a Macon power play. So they're down by just a goal. We're going to take a brief pause on the Mayhem Broadcast Network. Again, 4-3 at Fayetteville, your score, with 13:43 to go in the third period. We'll be back in just a moment.
Trying to plan out a night of fun for an upcoming birthday? Why not spend it right here with the Mayhem? The Tommy's Bakery and Cafe Birthday Suite is available right here at the Macon Centreplex for all home games during the 2019-20 season. The birthday suite comes chock full of benefits, including 12 tickets, a private suite area with a great view of the ice, donuts from Tommy's Bakery, a visit from Mac the Mascot, and a special present for the birthday child. All of this for just $250, with additional tickets available for $12 each. Visit MaconMayhem.com or call our office for more information.
So the Mayhem will go to work on an offensive zone faceoff. Lindstrom and Josh Cousineau strategizing before the draw to the right of Blake Woitola. Cousineau countered by Max Cook, won by the former of the two, and Jarrett Cup steps in and puts it in behind the net. Danny Caesar's got it. He puts it in front for Lindstrom. His shot is blocked. Bounced right to Cousineau, whose shot was also blocked. Cousineau fights for it below the goal line. Lindstrom gets his stick in there, tries to twist it to Caesar. Bounces back to the line. Zach Urban fires, and it flutters on top of the goal, and the whistle blows. That was interesting. Urban's shot looked like went off the shoulder of Blake Woitola and bounced on top of the net. Woitola probably fortunate it didn't bounce off his shoulder and into the net. That's one thing that the Mayhem were missing in the absence of Zach Urban, who went on loan to the ECHL's Kalamazoo Wings. He played 5 games up there and scored a goal in his first game with Kalamazoo. And on that right side, the right point, the Mayhem did not have any right-handed shooters, so it was hard for them to keep pucks alive and keep sustained attacks going. There's a huge benefit to having Zach Urban back in the lineup, plays like that. Marksmen have just sent it down into Macon territory. It's sticked aside by Atma, and here comes Caesar. Tons of speed as he enters the Fayetteville zone. He's steered into the far corner. He will rim one around the end wall, right to Lindstrom. Anton Lindstrom tried to give it back to Caesar, but his pass was picked off by Josh Victor. He will rim one around to the far side. Tim Keelik's got it. Keelik is checked by Caesar hard into the half wall. He goes down but gets back up quickly. And Danny Caesar's really done it all tonight, folks. De Oliveira chiseled one off the glass, picked off at center. Peoria coughs it back up now to Alec Marsh, who will put it in behind the net and around the boards. Travis Jake steps in, flutters it off the glove of Bo McCoy, who is completely surrounded by Navy sweaters, and Marcus Ortiz has it in his own slot. Will give it over to his right. Ryan Devine's pass lands on the tape of Pirog, who's across the line. He will pump one in deep below the Fayetteville goal line. Travis Jake goes down to a knee but manages to clear it. Over the stick of Smith, he's got to hurry back. Larry Smith is beaten to it by Darius Davidson, who overskated it a tad. Davidson continues fighting for it as Devine takes over now. Ryan Devine to Larry Smith. Backhands a pass up too far for Ortiz. In pursuit of it now is Caleb Cameron. Cameron is checked into the far corner there by Don Oliveira. He's outnumbered. Oliveira couldn't get his hands back onto his stick. Cameron's got it and drives to the front of the net, but loses the puck off the back of the cage. Ben Campbell's in pretty deep. He curls back with it to the point, has it bounce off his blade. Bednard saw to that, and now it's Jarrett Cupp doubling back into his own zone. He will slide it to his D partner, Ben Campbell. Campbell's pass never reached Perez. Cupp got his stick on the pass. The Marksman still onside. Here's a shot, save, rebound. It goes wide of the net. Shane Bednard missed a glorious opportunity to put Fayetteville back in front by a pair. Kevin Etna with a huge first save on the initial shot from Bednard as a center ice bid from Ortiz is handled by the glove of Wojtala. 11:07 to go here in the third period. Fayetteville just missing a terrific opportunity to retake a 2-goal lead. Looked like there might have been an offside situation there. Jarrett Cupp was the lone defenseman back, and Shane Bednard was thinking shot all the way on that 2-on-1. His first shot was denied by Atma, and he got a second opportunity, much better opportunity on the second shot, and just missed the net wide of the right post by a few inches, it appeared. Josh Kuzno will take the offensive zone face-off to the right of Blake Wojtala. Danny Caesar is on his left. The puck drops. Good step by Devine, but his pass was picked off by Darian Hamilton. He will commence the counterattack, enters the attacking zone, and goes to the front of the net, but the shot by Bowen was blocked down. It's floated this way for Danny Perez. Perez skates into his own slot. He will shovel it off the glass. Bowen will intercept it. Brian Bowen up to Tim Keelik on his off wing. He trickles one through for Max Cook in front for Bowen, who's hauled down to the ice. Cook is back on it. He circles into the deep slot. Max Cook will just dump one in below the goal line. Stopped by De Oliveira. Nice play, and he will spring Stepan Timofeyev down his off wing. He passes it to himself, and he's hung up by Travis Jake. It was within the window of the grace period, so no interference called against the Boston College grad. Travis Jake will now skate it down the left side, gain the red line before rattling it around the boards clockwise out to the near side. Overskated by Frankie Melton. The Mayhem have numbers entering the Fayetteville zone. It's pumped into the left corner by Stepan Timofeyev and retrieved by Josh Victor. Timofeyev near half wall, tried to twist one in front, intercepted. Lots of marksmen standing en route, and now here comes Melton. He sends it over. A one-timer sort of whiffed on there by Bo McCoy, didn't have much on it. And Larry Smith will take over near the body armor dasher board in the far corner. That puck went off a Mayhem player on the bench, so we get a whistle and a stoppage in play with 9:44 remaining here in the third period. A quick goal scored by Caesar at the start of the closing stanza has brought the Mayhem back to within one, but since then they've not been able to get a whole lot going. Caesar's goal on the power play coming just a minute and 14 seconds in. Jarrett Cupp, Marcus Ortiz on the assists. It was Caesar's second goal of the game. And we'll see if they can get that elusive equalizer. In the meantime, we're going to take one last pause on the Mayhem Broadcast Network. 4-3 at Fayetteville with half the period remaining. We'll be right back.
Good news, Mayhem fans. The group outing package you know and love is back for the 2019-20 season. If you bring a group of 10 or more people, you receive discounted tickets at $13 a piece, reserved seating, free hats, t-shirts, or pucks for each member of your group, and an experience upgrade of your choosing. Said upgrades include the high five tunnel, bench buddies, a picture on the ice after the game, and much more. Just be sure to call our office at 478-803-1592 in advance, and we'll get you all squared away.
Welcome back, everybody. Well, it's been a pretty well-fought game on both fronts tonight. The Mayhem trailing by just a goal with half of this third period remaining. Lots of momentum shifts in both directions. Right now, it's sort of in neutral ground, as it's brought right through the neutral territory, speaking of. And Kevin Atma jumps up in the air and gloves that. It redirected off a Macon's stick. It was earmarked for the backboards there, and not very often will you see a hockey player jump, folks, let alone a goaltender, but he did. And he snagged it with his glove. Perhaps Kevin Atma maybe a little bit inspired by the Harlem Globetrotters being here at the Macon Centreplex last night. From what I heard, it was a very close game against the Generals. The Globetrotters won by just 2. Good reception by Soper. Pirog to the goal. Soper with a toe drag, hangs on, tries to slip it over for Pirog. It was broken up off the stick of Bo McHugh on the back check. Now Soper will turn it in below the net. Pirog with his head up, couldn't filter the pass through. Soper's got it again, banks it skillfully off the end wall to himself, sets up Cup, who feeds it to Urban, who hammers a one-timer off the backboard glass, and it rims all the way around back down the ice into the Macon zone as Jarrett Cup races after it. He will scoop it up in the far corner and take a check from Alec Marsh. Urban shifts and backhands it up the boards for Soper. Turned over and played by Shane Bednard. He's hugged up to the near corner boards by Zach Urban. The two of them now separate, and Soper will find the puck on his stick in the neutral zone and angle it off the glass and back into Fayetteville territory. It'll be retrieved by Josh Victor. He twists it to his defensive partner, Travis Jake. Jake begins to motor out of his own zone and pick up some speed through center ice. Skates through virtually all of Macon's players, and then the shot from the left side by Frankie Melton was well off target. Here's Oliveira. Sends it off the backboards and right to Ryan Devine. Devine is met by the forechecking Frankie Melton. Devine to Oliveira. Up the wall for Caesar, who takes it back in below his own goal line and begins the breakout. Danny Caesar is pickpocketed at center ice by Tim Keelik. We'll kill off a few more seconds, 7:36 of which remain here in this third period. The Mayhem still trailing by a goal. Caesar from center ice misfires, gets into the attacking zone. Darian Hamilton plays it into his own slot for Don Oliveri. And now Ben Campbell will go after it far corner in the Macon end. He rattles it around the end wall for Larry Smith, who's pickpocketed by Brian Bowen. Smith staying on it. He is brought down, fans wanting a penalty. Puck slid into the near circle now and taken. And now a penalty will be called, this time against Larry Smith. Roughing called against Smith. 7:04 to go here in period 3. 4-3 in favor of Fayetteville, and they're going to a power play for the 6th time tonight. Looked like Smith was tripped in behind the Macon net. No call was made. Smith might have retaliated. It was the public address announcer called it tripping, but the signal from the referee said roughing called against the Mayhem defenseman. So perhaps some sort of a retaliatory measure taken by Larry Smith after the non-call. Regardless, the Mayhem back to the PK for the 6th time tonight. They've been perfect so far. Jimmy Soper down the left side. He's got Steven Pirog in tow. Soper cuts into the slot and fires. It's snagged by Blake Woitala with the glove. Soper coming into this game has been pretty hot. He's been one of the players to watch tonight for the Mayhem. Pair of goals and an assist since returning last Saturday, 1 week ago. In that game against Pensacola, he had both of Macon's strikes. Last night in Evansville had an assist. Brian Bowen gains the blue line. That looked like it was offside. Play continues as Brett Johnson has it from the right corner. Brett Johnson, in his marksman debut tonight, will slide it down to the adjacent corner for Max Cook. He sets up Bowen. Now Jake with a lot of open ice to work with above the right circle. He flings it back over to Bowen, tees up a slap shot, fires, chest save Atma. Rebound in the slot, turning and firing Johnson, kick save Atma. Bounces out to Bowen, left point, Jake deep slot, lets it go, redirected off the post, Atma the save, and it bounces into the right corner now where it's played by Fayetteville's Taylor McCoy. Given down to Max Cook, who's dispossessed of it by Jarrett Cupp, and Cupp will take it into the near corner, can't clear it. Taylor McCoy's got it inside of the right circle. He gives it to the goal line. Max Cook up to Bowen. Bowen from the left point. Left circle now. Wrist shot redirected wide. Picked up by Max Cook. 48 seconds to go on this J&J's Heating and Air penalty kill for the Mayhem. Jake, Cook, Bowen. Jake, one-timer, blocked. Bounces back out to center. Jimmy Soper put himself in front of that bomb from Travis Jake. Reigning SPHL Defenseman of the Year circles back and leaves it in behind his own net for Don Oliveira. Oliveira will distribute it to his left, and here comes Fayetteville's Bo McHugh. The ex-Rochester Americans captain carries into the far corner near the X-dasher board. The Mayhem have again quickly cleared it down the ice. The Marksmen with time for just one last rush on their power play here, which has been very quiet tonight, but that could change here. Breakaway behind the defense. Wrist shot by Bednard goes off the outside of the right post and stays out. The Mayhem have done it. They have improved to 6 for 6 on the PK this evening. Marcus Ortiz down the right wing, snaps a shot, blocked by Nicholas Sage and out of play. That flying puck's been brought to you by Blues Painting and Home Repair. 4:52 to go in the third period. This will be our third and final media timeout of period 3 and our final media timeout of this hockey game. A valiant effort on the PK by the Mayhem tonight, especially during that last 2-minute surge. The Mayhem need a goal, and sometimes in situations like this, when you're on the PK down by a goal late in the game, it can be tempting to sort of cheat a little bit because you need to get some offense, but the Mayhem really got to tip your cap to them. They committed to that penalty kill. Small lapse at the end there, obviously, with that breakaway by Shane Bednard, and puck luck was on the Mayhem side as Bednard hit the outside of the right post. Because that could have been the final dagger in the Mayhem coffin. But they remain within a goal with just under 5 minutes remaining here in this tilt. 4-3 the score, 4:52 remaining in regulation time. Josh Cousineau will again take this face-off. It will be to the left of Blake Woitala. He'll be countered by Taylor McCoy, who leads all marksmen in plus-minus this season with a +11. And the puck drops. McCoy able to best Cousineau in the circle. And Travis Jake skating out with it. He's got it on his stick out at the red line. From the backhand, we'll just shovel it below the Macon goal line on the right side of the ice. Zach Urban rims it back around in the direction from which he got it. McCoy sets up Keelik, centered over, sprawling pad save made by Atma. He keeps his team within one, robbing Frankie Melton from point-blank range on the left side. But the Mayhem have just been found guilty of icing, so 4:31 to play in the third period. 4-3 Fayetteville, and Jarrett Cupp giving his goaltender a well-earned stick tap. Just sort of tapped his pads, and Kevin Atma really, remember that save, folks. That was an excellent stop on Frankie Melton, a natural goal scorer. Josh Cousineau to take the defensive zone draw this time. He's beaten again, this time by Cook. And the shot from the line by Jake, pinballs off of Cupp. Now Cousineau finds it. He twists back into his own zone, and will slide it now to Danny Perez. Danny Perez back to Cupp. Cup over to Urban. Zach Urban out to the red line. Sends it over to Cup above the left circle. His shot whistles wide. Danny Perez from the far half wall will just shovel it down towards Kuzno in the far corner. It's been intercepted and flung off the glass out of play. And this faceoff will come back into the Fayetteville zone. It will be in the right circle, the circle to the left of Blake Woitala. And Stephen Pirog, Macon's best faceoff man, will go to work on a very critical draw. Ryan Michael sending out his hottest players right now. Danny Caesar, Stephen Pirog, and Jimmy Soper for this offensive zone draw. Ben Campbell manning the right point. Larry Smith in the deep slot. Pirog will be countered by Shane Bednard on the faceoff. Pirog beats him from the right circle. The shot from Soper doesn't get all the way through. Rattles back to Smith, who breaks his stick. And the front part of the twig bounced all the way into the right corner of the Fayetteville zone. Campbell sets up Pirog right side. Into the slot for Soper. His shot blocked right to Caesar. His shot blocked by Soper. Bounces up to Keelik at the blue line. Tim Keelik slides it up, and here comes Shane Bednard the other way. He will enter the Macon zone. He's onside as he dances his way into the slot. Leaves it for Keelik, who cuts to the outside and fires. And it's blocked by a diving stick check made by Ben Campbell. Looked like a goaltender there. He's not allowing anything to get to Kevin Atma. Ben Campbell's had a pretty strong showing tonight for the Mayhem. And one of the best games he's played this season. He's got an assist as well. He's really shown a lot of effort on the defensive side of the puck. Mayhem really you've got to give them credit, folks. They've responded to what happened last night in a pretty strong way. They've made a concerted effort to be stronger defensively and pay more attention to detail in their own zone. Marcus Ortiz down his off wing. Dips his way into the slot and loses a handle on the puck, and will just play it in behind the goal line. Fayetteville's on it now. Don Oliveira takes it into the near corner and will wedge one up to Darius Davidson. He advanced it out to the opposing blue line. And now it's Alex de Oliveira up to Marcus Ortiz. His backhand pass was intended for Lynch. Bounces off the skates of Alec Marsh. Kevin Atma well out of his net will float a pass ahead on the left wing side for Caleb Cameron, and the RIT grad will just chisel one into Fayetteville territory before heading to the Macon bench. 2:48 to go in regulation time here. The Mayhem running out of time as Marcus Ortiz wins the puck in the near corner. He's able to get it away from Nick Lesage, but Lesage gets right back up and keeps him pinned to the boards. Josh Kuzno desperately trying to move this puck in any direction he can because valuable seconds are ticking off the clock here. Finally, it comes free right to Fayetteville's Tim Keelik, and Bowen has it as he twists back into his own zone. Floats a pass all the way down the ice. Jarrett Cupp is able to just barely win the call for icing. That was a close race, but according to the linesman, Cupp won it. So the faceoff will come back into Fayetteville territory. Be interesting to see whether Ryan Michael decides to pull Kevin Atma now or if he waits another few seconds. 2:21 remains. 4-3 rather, in favor of Fayetteville. I suppose you could call it 3-4. I was reading from left to right on the scoreboard. And Jesse Kalecki might use his timeout here. It seems as good a time as any to do it. Following that icing call against the Marksmen, they've probably got a few tired bodies here on the ice. Good news for them is they're well rested. They did not play last night, whereas Macon played 8 hours away from here and traveled back. Jimmy Soper to take an offensive zone face-off. Pirog is in tow. Face-off is won by the other 13, Max Cook. The Fayetteville captain is driven into the corner boards by Soper. Cook just trying to kill out as much time as he can. Loose puck skitters in behind the net. Travis Jake has it. He will loft one up and off the glove of Zach Urban. Caesar puts it in front, bounces off the skates of Soper into the near corner again. Soper throws the body on Brian Bowen, tries to force a loose puck. The Marksmen have cleared it. It bounces near the Mayhem logo at center. It'll be collected by Cupp. Inside of 2 minutes remaining. Cupp up to Soper, who redirects it further into the Fayetteville zone. No icing. Travis Jake hit by Caesar. Loose puck scooped up by Caesar, but he's pinned to the boards by Jake. Both players spearing away. It's taken by Bednard, who can't clear it. Twisted down into the corner by Pirog. Caesar back to Pirog from the slot. Fires, missed the net. Bounces to Cupp. Outer hash marks, left circle. Sends it at the goal from a tough angle, and a kick save is made by Woitala. And now it bounces off the left half wall. Tim Keelik skates out with it for Fayetteville up to Taylor Mccoy. Mccoy from the right circle sends it back to Keelik. Backhand pass. Nearly had Shane Bednard on the doorstep, but it just didn't work out as Soper will flutter one across the ice. Ryan Devine has it from the left point. Atma to the bench, a sixth attacker on the ice for the Mayhem. Soper fighting for it below the goal line. Kuzno will shovel it back to the point. Stepan Timofeyev cuts to the outside and delivers it in below the goal line again. Kuzno back to Timofeyev, up to the line for Ryan Devine. He bobbles it at the line, and he has to recover and send it back to the red line for Ben Campbell. He will rattle it off the corner boards on the far side. It's halted by Blake Woitala. Rims it around. Caleb Cameron, far half wall. Tries to get it down to Kuzno in the far corner. Loose puck collected in the slot. Here's a chance for Kuzno. Knocked off his stick there by Josh Victor. In behind the net it goes, 36 seconds. Down goes Cameron, no penalty. Tries to get back onto his skates as quickly as he can. Timofeyev centers, Devine back to the circle. One-time blast is on. Loose puck in the slot, hacked away from Perez. And Devine will fire again. Waffle board just wide of the goal. Blake Woitala might have gotten a piece of it. Now it's collected by Kuzno, far corner. Puts one through, bounces between a pair of players. 14 seconds out to the neutral zone at Kareem's, and Ryan Devine is running out of time. He works it up the left wing for Danny Perez. Steps in across the Fayetteville blue line. Loose puck is settled now by Timofeyev, who couldn't get a shot off. The Marksmen have cleared it, and that'll do it. 4-3 the final in favor of the Marksmen. The Mayhem have dropped a fifth straight despite a valiant effort here tonight on Teacher Appreciation Night, and the Mayhem have dropped to 3-11-2. The Marksmen improving to 11-2-1, and the woes continue here for the Mayhem. However, a lot of positives to be taken from tonight's game. If you erase 1 minute and 37 seconds from this tilt, it would have been a 3-1 Macon victory, but that's not the way it works. Fayetteville, with a huge momentum surge in the middle of the second period, just proved to be too much, and Don Oliveira's right point shot ends up being the game-winning goal for Fayetteville. And Macon salutes its crowd here on Teacher Appreciation Night for all that they do in our community and for supporting the Mayhem this evening on home ice. This game kicks off a 5-game homestand in which the Mayhem will be here for the next couple of weeks. They will host the Quad City Storm for the first time this season next weekend, followed by Roanoke on Friday, December 20th, and Birmingham on Saturday, December the 21st. 4-3 the final here in Macon. The Mayhem again dropping their fifth straight game in regulation. 5-game pointless streak that they're on. It's unfortunate given the effort that they put into this game. It was very obvious that they took what Ryan Michael said to heart and applied it to tonight's effort. In the neutral zone, in the defensive zone, we'll call them the less fun areas of the ice. The Mayhem paid a lot more attention to detail. They were a lot more diligent. They were harder on pucks. They made life more difficult for Fayetteville than they did for Evansville last night, certainly. And were in this one from start to finish. Had a lead evaporate during the second period. Looked as though they might have had an insurance lead, but a washout signal, a controversial washout signal made by Dan Gramado, completely turned the momentum of this game. From that point on, Fayetteville, shortly after that non-call, that washout signal was made by Gramado, Fayetteville scored 3 goals in 1 minute and 37 seconds. That was the momentum turner, the point at which the tides turned in this game, folks. And we'll never know whether that puck was across the blue line or not, or the goal line, I should say. I'll ask Stephen Pirog and Jimmy Soper what they thought after the game was over. I don't think it was in because the goal light did not come on behind the net. So perhaps that's why Gramado decided to not blow the whistle and let play continue, which you can understand that. But I just think, there were several players on the ice who thought it was in. And I thought it was in, the broadcaster, from a pretty good point of view. And the majority of this building thought it was in. The horn sounded, the goal light, or not the goal light, the strobe light, the spotlight turned on. My point is that there were lots of people in this building who had a much better vantage point than the referee, who believed it was a goal. And to not even blow the whistle in that situation, certainly questionable, but that's his prerogative. Fayetteville took advantage of the call that went their way, and shortly after that, they scored what it would end up being 3 goals in 1 minute and 37 seconds. All started by a snipe from Brian Bowen, which was followed shortly thereafter by a one-timer by Max Cook, and then ultimately a slap shot from the right point by Don Oliveira, the SPHL veteran, who's been a pro for a long time. I just received word that the puck did go in the net. I'll have to confer with a few people about it, but it sounds like that's what happened. So I'll do some investigating and see what everyone has to say on it, but ultimately just an unfortunate turn of momentum for the Mayhem, which Fayetteville took full advantage of. No points for the Mayhem after a very noble effort from start to finish this evening. But that is part of the game. So Bowen, Cook, Oliveira all scoring for Fayetteville in period 2. It looked as though the Mayhem would mount a comeback in period 3. Just a minute and 14 seconds in, Danny Caesar on a power play snipe brought the team to within a goal just a minute and 14 seconds in. A snapshot from above the right circle, a well-placed snapshot and a well-timed one at that. Gave this building an electrifying feel and put the Mayhem within arm's reach, but they could not come up with that elusive third period equalizer and ultimately fell by a 4-3 final score. Let's take a look around the SPHL one last time, folks, before we let you get going. Every team in the league busy tonight as the Roanoke Rail Yard Dogs snapped a bit of a skid that they were on, won just their third game of the season, and have now tied the Mayhem with 8 points in the standings, beating the Knoxville Ice Bears by a 6-1 score. The Pensacola Ice Flyers tied with the Huntsville Havoc right now late in the second period. The Bulls and the Bolts tied 2 goals apiece. Evansville with 2, Birmingham with 2, and then finally Peoria with a commanding 3-0 advantage over the Quad City Storm up in central Illinois midway through regulation time. That wraps up your final Hampton Inn Suites out-of-town scoreboard update. We hope you enjoyed the broadcast tonight, folks, on the Mayhem Broadcast Network. In spite of the outcome, once more, the Marksmen with 4, the Mayhem with 3, and we'll be sure to have you on board with us next week as the Mayhem host the Quad City Storm for the first time this season. If you can't tune in, by all means, come by the Macon Centreplex. We'd love to have you here. Friday night is the Grinch night, followed by a Saturday night tilt in which the Mayhem will be wearing specialty jerseys, sponsored by Peanuts. The Mayhem will be having their teddy bear toss as well, their 4th annual teddy bear toss. Last season, the team broke a record with 2,519 teddy bears. We hope to break that record a second time as the Mayhem host the Quad City Storm next Friday and Saturday night. Till then, so long, everyone, and enjoy the rest of your weekend.